not see that one coming as an 8.5 point dog that the Bears would rattle off 23 straight to pull away and win the game by kneeling down when they could have punched it into the end zone at the buzzer.
I mean, interesting maybe isn't the word I would use. There's some other adjectives that feel more fitting, but yeah, if you give up 33 points to a team that has the NFL equivalent of Iowa's offense, that's pretty rough. You probably aren't going to win that ball game there. Maybe they were just so inspired by the 85 Super Bowl rematch that they're like, "Hey, let's go Bears." I'm not sure what happened there. I think the quarterback play from the Patriots was similar to what they had in the 80s as well. So it was just a little throwback game there for everybody involved.
Wait a minute, you're not on all the Zappy bandwagon? Stacy's mom has got it going on?
No, I think I'm going to pass a hard pass on Zappy at this point. It's possible both of their quarterbacks are bad.
Mac Jones, will he be in Indianapolis, San Francisco, or Washington before the year is over?
Well, I think San Francisco should just accumulate all the quarterbacks from that draft. You don't need any more draft picks. Just go get Mac Jones. If that doesn't work out, go get Justin Fields. If that doesn't work out, maybe see what Trevor Lawrence is doing. Just see what's going on.
Wow, what a disappointing, disheartening loss if you're a Patriot fan this morning.
Hate to see it.
It was a debacle. It was just they got Belichick. They took on a team that I still think has no faith in Justin Fields.
No, not at all.
Neither head coach OC had faith in their quarterbacks. If you just look at the beginning of the game on their third down choices, but they had a game plan coming off of a long layoff, playing that Thursday night game and then going to the Monday night game to just have Justin Fields run the football. They ran it for 243. They basically did to Belichick what he does to other teams when you have a curveball that is thrown at you, and they won a football game. I'm still like stunned that game unfolded like that.
Yeah, there was a point where you just keep expecting the Bears to implode, and I guess my mic's not working today. You expect the Bears to implode or the Patriots to look anything like the Patriots, and you kept waiting and waiting, and the Bears just kept scoring, and you're like, oh, this might not actually happen, and it did not. It was incredibly ugly for the Patriots.
I wonder if Bear fans. So last night, Fields runs all over the place, but that defense was really, really good. They were physical, and the Patriots had no sense of offense, whether it was Jones or Zappy or Stacy's mom, which I don't know a Stacy, so I don't know if his mom or her mom has it going on. But that is like when that's one of your highlights of the night from the Patriots standpoint, it's a bad night when your backup quarterback, who everybody was clamoring for, comes into the game and he's caught on the sidelines after scoring a touchdown or leading to a touchdown, is singing the words to that. But I wonder if Bear fans who have gone through the Sahara of quarterbacks, like they've had 34 different starting quarterbacks in the last 30 years. Even their two Super Bowl teams, you could say that the quarterbacks were not difference makers, Jim McMahon or Rex Grossman. I mean, they were.
Yeah.
McMahon was okay. Rex Grossman was, but they had really good defenses, among other things. That they have had issues with the quarterback for a long time. They've only had
Harbaugh might have been the best one of all of them.
I mean, maybe Kyle Orton,
Mike Tomczak,
Jay Cutler.
I was gonna say Jay Cutler's looking real good right now, huh, Chicago?
But they've only had in the last 30 years a quarterback in Chicago. They've only had one Pro Bowler. And they've never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in the last 30 years. But last night they had a quarterback who I think they want him to be their future. They won a game on national TV. Now, I don't know if you've been following the Bears on national TV. Bears are terrible on national TV of late.
I try not to.
I think they've lost 9 straight. And they always look
terrible.
But, it's the third largest television market. There's, that is a Bears town. You put the Bears on TV and they lay an egg until last night. But I wonder how comfortable Bear fans are with the future of Justin Fields as their quarterback, looking at the draft upcoming on what you could do at quarterback, or will he get a pass because of what's around him? It's a conundrum if you're a Bear fan on what to do with Justin Fields, and it actually now has turned into an issue with everybody that had a quarterback drafted in the first round of the 21 draft class, because those 5 quarterbacks are.
Yeah, it's not going super well for any of them, really. You either have injuries or just inadequacy, or however you want to put it. I don't think it's so much about maybe the wins and losses with Justin Fields. It doesn't look good. And I think that's the biggest concern. Everything, like, you can kind of tell when a good quarterback is playing in a bad situation. It doesn't look like that. It looks like a bad quarterback playing in a bad situation, which obviously just makes it worse. You can kind of see some things with Trevor Lawrence where you're like, okay, that guy is a lot of the things we thought he was. Maybe
Yeah.
he's not the generational turnaround a franchise type guy, but he's got all of the things you would want. I'm not sure that you can say that about Justin Fields at this point, which again, it's early, but usually you would see some of the flashes by now.
So last night, the Bears win over the Patriots, a game that you heard right here on the Zone. And the Patriots are 3-4, and they're just another team.
Yep.
That's what the Patriots are. They're just another team at 3-4. But I checked the look-ahead lines now that they're out for Week 8 of the NFL season. There's two lines that are kind of interesting. Football revolves around New York City with the Giants and the Jets. So the Giants are 3.5-point underdogs at Seattle. The Jets are an underdog to the Patriots next weekend.
Is that a Breece Hall thing? Is that what we're doing there?
Well, I don't know. They went out and the Jets have told everybody that they're all in, and they see that there is a path in the AFC East to get to the postseason. They go out and get James Robinson last night after Breece Hall goes down. But they have more than the Breece Hall injury. They've lost a really good offensive lineman. But just that the Patriots are a favorite in that game is a little bit surprising because who knows who's going to start at quarterback? Because Bill Belichick has created a little bit of drama. Now, he might live on the drama side. We all have that person in our life that just, they eat up drama. That's how they live. They can't live a normal life.
Sure.
Belichick created drama last night, and now he's got to work through it to figure out who his quarterback is going to be. Is it going to be Mac Jones, who clearly is not healthy? Or is he going to go with the quarterback that everybody wants? Because the backup quarterback is always the most popular person in the franchise.
Unless it's Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that's true. Now doesn't Brock Purdy in San Francisco assume that mantle?
Oh, he is not my favorite guy in town. That's also for sure.
How can the backup quarterback with the Niners not be a popular guy?
Because it's not Trey Lance anymore? Because it's not Steve Young anymore?
It's not even Steve Bono.
Because it's not 1992? It's not even Elvis Gerback?
Hey, man, we shared a quarterback. Thank you.
You shared a couple.
We did.
Guy named Joe Montana.
Yeah,
ringing bells.
He did okay.
Went with Gerback over Rich Gannon. That went well.
Yeah.
Gerback was a solid starter.
Well, we also shared Alex Smith.
That's right.
Yeah.
I loved Alex Smith. I
Yeah.
always felt bad for him.
I got a feeling, though, that train is probably going to stop between San Francisco and Kansas City for sharing quarterbacks.
You don't think Jimmy G is the successor to Patrick Mahomes?
38-year-old Mahomes finishing his career with San Francisco.
Hands it off to a 42-year-old Jimmy G.
I mean, Trey Lance is younger, right? Maybe that could work out later.
I'm good. I like my guy that's at quarterback.
He could be your tight end or something.
All right, welcome in, everybody. This is a Tuesday morning edition of Gary and Friends, and Ravi is our friend again today. The seat that you're sitting in is like molded to your butt.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Like
at
it's
this
got
point.
to feel.
Yeah, it feels like that spot on the couch that you sit in every day.
Yeah. You know what? I have a couch. Speaking of that, so couches become very popular. We talked about in the crossover.
Yeah.
So
you buy it new or used, first of all?
No, I bought it new.
Okay, just checking.
I bought a sectional. I went all in on a sectional.
Yeah, like the L.
Yeah,
L shape?
because I wanted like a really nice couch,
Mhm.
but I have a feeling that I've sat in it too much
Okay.
because it's kind of like sinking a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll notice that when I go away for like 3 or 4 days and come back, that it's back to kind of normal
like
and a firmness.
reinflates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that for people that are in the couch business? Is that am I right on this?
I think it's normal.
Okay.
I think it's a normal function of the springs and the cushions of the couch. But it's definitely a thing that happens. You don't you got to mix up the seats a little bit. It's really easy to like fall in love with one spot on the
Yeah.
couch because I have a sectional too, and I really like the corner spot, and because the sides recline, which is nice, but I really like sitting in the corner so I can kind of put my arms up on the backs like that, and I just kind of lounging a little bit. And you got to switch it up though, because that corner started seeing some worse days.
Now, do you have like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, which is Jimmy's favorite show? Do you have a spot on the couch that is your spot? Your wife does not sit in it. The dog's not in
No.
it. It's just your spot. That's your go-to spot when you sit down on the couch.
No, I'll move around quite a bit, and I also have a chair in that room as well
Oh,
that
now
sometimes
that's
I'll
a good
rotate
move.
through. But no, the dogs have no respect for anything that I claim to be mine. They're just like, no, I'm going to lay here. You can figure it out. And then my wife will also often try and sit in the corner because it is the best spot. But I'm pretty versatile. I'll move around a little bit.
Okay. I think that's my issue is I'm like in the same spot.
Yeah, you gotta mix it. Having the chair helps to mix it up because then you're like, I've still got a really nice spot, but I can give the couch a rest. You don't want to wear it out too early, you know?
Bear fan Ben here on the future of the Bears, who I will say this. So you win a game like that, even though I just said the Patriots are 3-4 and they're basically just another team. But if you're the Bears, that could turn into a little bit of a conversation starter for the season to win a game like that with a game plan of run the ball, but also, I mean, they were really good defensively. But Bear fan Ben says they've had 0 draft picks, no line, and new coaching staff. Now they have draft picks and $100 million in cap space next season. Future finally looks good. So that's where
some optimism.
You push pause and you
Yeah.
say, okay, when they surround Justin Fields with some weapons, then the real Bears start. I love their GM. They're still trying to figure out their head coach, and he's
Mhm.
probably a guy that, unless you're a Bear fan, and even maybe some Bears fans, you don't recognize their head coach, and you couldn't mention what his name is. They're showing him on the sidelines last night, and you're like, oh, do they have the wrong? Are they just showing the OC? No, that's the head coach. But I like their
The anti-Ditka.
I like their GM. I mean, the thing about the Bears fans that I know are so diehard, and they're not clamoring for 85. They just want some competent football where their Sundays are not ruined.
Does that sound like any other fan base, you know?
Well, it does, but there's a special thing. If you've been like into Chicago to go to a Bears game, those people are so damn loyal. I mean, they're about to have to go to the suburbs to watch their football team play.
Yep.
But they are so in, and that is, as much as I love the Cubs and spent a lot of time in Chicago, that is
It's
a
a
Bears
Bears
fan.
town.
That is a Bears town through and through. When the Bears are on, the Bears are the whole story. It's Bears nonstop.
Yeah.
And so I kind of root for them to have some success.
Football's even better when the Bears are good.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case that's the way. Now, you as an NFC guy might be like,
I mean, they really haven't been good much like in at least my memory, really. Like, I mean, go back, I kind of start remembering watching football in the
Their-
mid-90s.
their year recently that they were good. I mean, it was Mitch Trubisky, and that was a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the roster, and they were done in by a doink, a double doink.
The double doink, yeah. They always seem to have, like, I don't know, once every 4 or 5 years, a team that you're like, oh, maybe this team will make a little run, and they do something horrible in the playoffs, and it flames out. But whether it's Rex Grossman has led the best Bears team of my lifetime, basically. Just let that sink in for a minute. Rex Grossman. Say it one more time. Rex Grossman.
And his coach had to defend him every week pretty much up until the Super Bowl.
Well, and I was a big Rex Grossman guy in Florida. I thought he should have won a Heisman. I think his sophomore year, but it didn't work out in the NFL. He wasn't the guy that you want leading your franchise. And so I don't know. I really don't have much animosity for the Bears because they've never been anything to dislike, really. And I have a lot of friends that are Bears fans. And so it's like, I wish that your team wasn't actively hurting you. That would be nice if they weren't, purposely causing you pain. I would appreciate that for you. But I don't, as a 49ers fan, I'm just like, yeah, they're just kind of there.
Well, they were there last night, and they Belichick the Patriots. Now, my other takeaway from last night, because I lost a lot of interest in that game because it was
Not great football.
not great football.
Yeah.
Is can we talk about? So I went over to the Manning cast when President Obama was on, and everybody nowadays wears the quarter zip. Like the Mannings, and then Obama showed up wearing a quarter zip.
Sure.
Has anybody commented on whenever he does like a Zoom or an interview, how great his camera looks? We've all we're on StreamYard right
Sure,
now. We've
yeah.
all been on Zoom meetings, and all of our cameras are they might be a little pixelated or they might be a little fuzzy. Whenever Obama does something like that, is that camera like 8K?
It's got to
It's
be.
an unbelievable picture.
I wonder if it's like Secret Service issue.
Okay.
Maybe they've got some extra technology they haven't rolled out to the public yet. Here's the key thing about it, though. It's not only the camera, it's also the internet connection. Because no matter how good the camera is, if the internet connection isn't primo, that camera is going to look like it came straight out of like a 2004 MLB.TV package. and I'm intimately familiar with that product. So yeah, the internet connection is just as important as whatever like 12K camera he's got rolling out from the Secret Service. That they're like, hey, this is new. We're not going to send this to the public for like 3 more years, but you can use it for the Manning
So
catch.
his place is the place to watch college football because you'll get everything in crystal clear and 8 screens.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're saying that for all of these Zoom things I do, that I should probably go to my city council person today and say, hey, Google Fiber is a good idea.
Yes.
I guess
Yeah.
they're voting on Google Fiber today.
I think that would help you out with your streaming needs.
We had it in Kansas City and never had any issues with it. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's supposedly coming to Omaha,
It's
but you have to get
get approval.
Yeah. People have very territorial in this town
And-
when
yeah.
it comes to their internet and their cable.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't want competition and make things better for the consumer. Why would you do that?
It's crazy,
That would
isn't it,
be
Robbie? Just crazy. All right. The lineup brought to you by the Roofery's John Higgins Weather Guard. Sam McEwen stops by at 7:30. Nebraska and Illinois. Mickey Joseph, and we'll speak. There's a lot of people speaking today. Mark Manning, Nebraska wrestling coach. Their season is about to get underway. He will speak. I don't know if the head coach of the number 1 ranked volleyball program will speak today, but when they do, we'll bring it to you. But Sam McEwen stops by at 7:30. Brian Christopherson at 9. Before I pose a question, we go to break about the coaching search at Nebraska because this is my drive in this morning where I'm thinking.
Mhm.
Adidas has cut ties with Kanye West over his anti-Semitic remarks. So the Yeezy brand is done.
Yeah. That
Probably not a surprise.
a lot of people were clamoring for that.
Yeah.
Adidas was a little slower than some people would have liked on that.
So that is coming down right now. This morning that Adidas has cut ties with Kanye West.
I believe the day after his agency let him go.
CAA.
When people who are making a ton of money off of you just cut you loose, you maybe stepped out of line a bit there.
I would nod my head in agreement there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many people that are going to disagree with you, Robbie. So Nebraska, Illinois, and there's a lot to talk about because I have a little curiosity about how the Fighting Illini approach this week. But the discussion about, coaches, and I said yesterday right away, hey, it's probably going to get a little bit quiet. Some things going on. Are with all these coaches that we mention, and some have less experience than others.
Mhm.
Is Nebraska in their coaching search and their hire going to be like Nebraska or unlike Nebraska? Because would you like to rattle off to me, since Bob Devaney, the coaches at the University of Nebraska
Mhm.
that have had 2 or more years of college football head coaching experience before they took the Nebraska job?
Okay, so Osborne didn't, Solich didn't, Pelini didn't, Callahan. So just Riley?
Just Mike Riley. So since Bob Devaney, Mike Riley is the only coach that's been hired by Nebraska that has more than 2 years of head coaching experience in college.
That's quite the nugget at
That
6:20.
is, I mean, it's obvious when you think about it, but that is pretty startling.
So will Nebraska be like Nebraska in hiring, or will they be unlike Nebraska?
It's funny that you bring that issue up specifically because that is my biggest hesitancy on a lot of the candidates people bring up is not enough experience. Because I know Baylor has not been as good as they look like they might be this year. That's one of my big concerns with Aranda. That's one of my big concerns with Leipold, even though he's got the Buffalo experience and the Division III experience. He just doesn't have a ton of major college football experience. One of my biggest concerns when Kalen DeBoer was a big name. He's got like 2.5 years of head coaching experience. I don't know if it's a direct overreaction from the Frost thing is my issue here, or if I just want to make sure that the guy has a track record of being able to do it and sustain at least at a certain level. But the lack of experience is one of my biggest buts. When you talk about candidates, one of the first buts I'll throw at you is like, he's only done it for a couple years here, or he's only done it for a couple years here. It's honestly, even though Rule's got more, he's only got a couple years at a school. That part concerns me too. So it's interesting that that's kind of Nebraska's MO for the last 50-ish years. They almost 50 on the dot,
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, in the first two were basically handoff, Devaney to T.O.,
Yeah.
T.O. to Solich.
Just keep the train rolling.
But then Peterson hires a guy with no head coaching experience in college. And then T.O. hires a guy with no head coaching experience in college.
Mhm.
And then Eichhorst comes in and hires a guy that and a little bit different. The candidates that were mentioned when that job were open were everybody had multiple years of experience.
Yeah.
Whether you be at Utah or Oregon State. And then Moose comes in and hires a guy that has minimal experience. Just curious if anybody is factoring that in, that this is a place that just traditionally, has not hired somebody that has a lot of tread on the tires or a lot of experience, and maybe attracts coaches that are, okay, this is year 3, 4, I've been a head coach. Man, that Nebraska job looks great to me.
So let me put it this way, because I think you can look at all those situations and they all made sense in their way, right? Like,
there were 2 of them that did
well,
not. But
you can hold on, let me get there. So Devaney handing off to Osborne makes plenty of sense, right? Osborne handing off to Solich, maybe you don't like it, but you kind of understand, hey, they've been really successful. Let's just try and keep this thing going as much as possible. Peterson hiring Callahan, maybe Callahan himself doesn't make sense, but he was dead set on bringing an NFL offense to Nebraska, right? Like, that was his biggest thing, his number one goal. So if you understand his thinking, you understand why he went that direction. I don't think it was hey, I want somebody that doesn't have any college coaching experience. Pelini, you wonder if, obviously he'd been here, but you wonder if having Osborne make that hire because he came from a position where he didn't have any head coaching experience and it worked out, if that factors in at all. So maybe that makes a little bit of sense. And frankly, he's been the most successful one over the past 20 years. Riley makes no sense whatsoever. There's no, there's really no excuse, or he was
Still doesn't make sense.
He was just the anti-Pelini in every way. And so that's basically what Eichhorst was going for. But then Frost makes sense because he was the only option, right?
Mhm.
He was the only option that anybody could possibly have. So I don't know that I think it's a weird coincidence. I don't know that it's something I hope it's not something they look for. That's a dumb thing to look for, is, hey, let's go hire somebody with no experience doing the job we want. But so I think it's more coincidental than maybe intentional, I would hope.
We'll see. Because there are a couple of guys that are up for the job that kind of fall into that category again.
You know, a guy up for the job that actually falls into that category that I don't hate is Bill O'Brien. Got the 2 years at Penn State. Got a lot of other experience doing a lot of other things, but only actually has the 2 years at Penn State.
There was I didn't get to respond. We had a call yesterday talking about Bill O'Brien. I don't even look at his NFL background and decision making that he made with the Texans. He should have never been the head coach and the general manager. That does not affect how I think he would be as a football coach in college, if that's what he elected to do. Now, I'm not advocating for him to come to Nebraska, but his decisions as a general manager, head coach have nothing to do with his resume as a college coach.
Yeah.
Houston should have never allowed him to have that kind of power, especially when things were going well in Houston, and then say, hey, why don't you also take over being the GM?
Yeah, that's a terrible idea with
yeah.
professional franchises. The NBA does it sometimes. The NFL doesn't do it as often.
It usually doesn't work.
It almost never works because it's 2 whole jobs that you're trying to ask one person to do, when the one job in either instance is way bigger than any one person should probably have to deal with anyway. And how you just can't pay that much attention to being a GM when you're coaching an NFL team the entire season. Like, there's a lot of things that GMs do in season to prepare for all their moves and drafts and things like that. You really can't ask somebody to functionally do both things. Now, if somebody offers the job, you could say no, but that's not a realistic ask for somebody in Bill O'Brien's shoes to be like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to do that.
All right, we will get into what's coming up this weekend when number 17 Illinois rolls into town as a 7.5-point favorite. Oh, the last time, it boggles my mind when I'm watching highlights of the 86 Nebraska-Illinois game on TBS.
Yeah?
I'm thinking 59-14 to today. That's a long time ago. That's
Did
36 years ago.
You go down a YouTube rabbit hole?
They're a really long
I
time
did
ago.
because that game in '86 with Keith Endzone Jones running amok. That game was on TBS. Skip Carey and Paul Horning were doing the game.
There you go.
Yeah, Skip. When TBS had like college football,
Yeah.
and they've had, I think
He
they've
did
had
the NFL too for a couple years.
TBS had like 2 runs of college
Yeah.
football. Skip Carey used to do the play-by-play.
There you go.
It was, and if you go back and it's the whole game is on YouTube, it is a young sounding Skip Carey.
Yeah,
So you have to listen closely. You're gonna be like, I recognize that voice, but listen a little bit closer, or find when they introduce themselves. And yeah, Skip Carey was doing the TBS game in '86.
Low key hilarious.
I'll say 86 is, that would be a very young Skip Carey.
That was not a bad stretch of Illinois football. They're the Tony
Mid-
Eason, Jack Trudeau days.
that Makovic yet?
Mike White.
Oh, Mike White before Mac.
The mid 80s there. That wasn't terrible.
No, I mean up until about the early 2000s, Illinois was a football program that maybe didn't have overwhelming success. Well, Ron Turner had, they got him to the Sugar Bowl.
He had the
But
1 year.
They were
Yeah, Kirk
pumping out
Kittner,
NFL
quarterback.
guys, and then they went through a stretch of some bad hires, but they were pumping out NFL guys, and
Simeon
then
Rice was an
yeah.
NFL guy.
all of a sudden it just they made some bad hires with coaches, and they I don't think they were as invested in football, and all of a sudden they were at the bottom of whatever division they were in, or the Big Ten before they went to divisions, and now they are revitalized.
Yeah, the Lou Tepper era wasn't exactly what you wanted if you were an Illinois fan.
Well, just go from Ron Turner all the way up to Bielema. I mean, the coaches that were in there, you're like, wow, so these don't make sense.
Yeah, the Zucker had 07.
Well, and then they went on the hire of, okay, who is the hottest MAC coach?
Mhm.
If you've had a good year in the MAC and we have a job opening, more than likely you're going to be our head coach.
You want to know a funny story that the Illinois fans kind of live in horror of? So when they hired Tim Beckman from Toledo, he was supposed to bring Matt Campbell with him, and they were very excited about this. This was like half the reason they hired Tim Beckman, according to my Illinois people. And then Matt Campbell got offered the Toledo job, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, we don't really love Tim Beckman by himself that much. And so that thing went downhill pretty quick. I think he only got 3 years, and he mishandled some injuries and got fired there pretty quickly.
Well, he also went to Penn State when things were unraveling in State College. And he went up there and he took his staff up there, and they were trying to recruit players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a awkwardness there.
But he was always a nice guy. He would do any interview at any time of the day, and he would always wish his mom happy birthday when he was at Big Ten Media Days.
Well, at least he loves his
I
mom.
don't think I haven't heard anything about him since he got canned. Like, he didn't go and be an analyst. He might be retired.
I'll say I don't know that the way he got canned, he's ever going to get another job again. Maybe as like one of
that was a
those
pretty ugly deal.
secret NFL analysts where people just go to hide and make a paycheck, but I don't imagine he's going to have any sort of high profile, I have to do a press conference job ever again.
Well, they love the guy they got now, and they love their 36-year-old defensive coordinator who spoke yesterday. So we'll talk about that as we roll till 10. Sam McEwen coming up at 7:30. Also, Brian Christopherson at 9 on 1620 The Zone in the mornings.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
So she just dips Achilles, but why not just, how like when you're frying things, you have one of those.
You're gonna fry a baby?
No, you put the baby in one of those and you
In a fryer? In a colander?
Yeah, colander. Put the baby in the colander.
The Greeks didn't have colanders,
Why not
Josh.
dip and then be like, okay, now I'm going to hold your other leg. Also, if you know that's his weakness, cover it up.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Bellevue Berry and Pumpkin Ranch from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
After a chilly start, expect cool and breezy conditions for your Tuesday. We'll see plenty of sunshine, but north to northwest winds will pick up late in the morning, gusts up to 25 miles per hour through the afternoon. Highs around 59. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown near 90th and L. Then on Center, be prepared for some significant delay from 183rd to 168th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Nebraska Lottery has raised over $893 million, which has helped to provide more than 117,000 college scholarships, save wildlife habitats across the state, and fund new facilities at the Nebraska State Fair. The Nebraska Lottery, helping to build a better Nebraska.
MD West One's team of neurosurgical spine specialists is the largest and most advanced in the greater Omaha metro. MD West One has been voted the #1 private practice and #1 in neurosurgery and spine by Best of Omaha year after year. They can help if you're suffering from recurring neck and back pain, weakness or numbness in your extremities, sciatica pain, or any other recurring issues stemming from your neck or back. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the spine team at MD West One.
Get a full breakdown of what went right and what went wrong immediately after every Nebraska game with Big Red Overreaction. Presented by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Also brought to you by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More. Join the show immediately after the game and sound off with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg and 1620 The Zone.
Want to do something nice for a veteran? Then stop by any 42 Degree location and receive an extra discount with your donation of can or box food and hygiene products for the Veterans Food Pantry of Omaha. Donate 2 cans and receive an extra 5%. 4 get you 10%. 6 or more, 15%. With multiple locations, the most knowledgeable and friendliest staff, and a drop-off point for all your food and hygiene products for the Veterans Food Pantry. 42 Degrees, the source by your mom's house.
Did you hear about Taco Bell's apology? Yeah, they apologized for going too far with their breakfast. Like the naked egg taco and chicken biscuit nachos? It was too much. All you need in the morning is tasty, simple food. Like the breakfast crunch wrap. Fluffy eggs, melty cheese, sausage, crispy hash browns, wrapped in a warm tortilla. Or, as some call it, a breakfast crunch thing. Grab one today, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell stores during breakfast hours only until 11 a.m. while supplies last. Contact local store for hours and participation, which vary.
It's a first look at the Creighton Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are back in exhibition action as they take on Drury. Sunday coverage begins at 5 p.m. with Robbie Lula, with tip-off at 6. The Blue Jays are back on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg.
Cubby's supports the PACE program with Raise Some Dough. For every large pizza sold at Cubby's in the Old Market, Cubby's gives $1 to the Police Athletic League, serving at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children with athletic and educational programs. PACE has over 5,800 program participants. The league reaches kids that would not normally be able to participate in athletics like soccer and baseball due to financial situations and family dynamics. PACE wants to give every kid the opportunity at athletics and a healthy and safe environment. If you'd like to support PACE too, go to paceomaha.org.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Sharp. Join me for We Got a Podcast, driven by Woodhouse Auto Family. We get more in depth, have a guest or two, and drop nuggets of info you haven't heard anywhere else. Join us for We Got a Podcast, driven by Woodhouse Auto Family, every Friday in the show page on 1620thezone.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees. 1620 The Zone.
No, that was Mike Leach.
Don Bacon's not here. That was last week, your interview, right?
That was last week. Donnie B and Gary J sat down and chopped it up. I wonder if that interview has aired.
I don't know. Maybe they're saving it for the big election push in a couple weeks or a week or whatever.
Every commercial now.
Every single one.
It doesn't matter what you watch. It's not even cable. It's Hulu. It's Pluto. All the things. They find you. Your phone.
Gentlemen?
Yeah.
Politicians this time of the year are very good to our radio station. Thank you.
We love all the commercials.
As Mike Leach,
Thank you for your contribution.
So you had no idea where that was headed.
You almost never do.
Mike Leach wanted to deflect and distract from the fact that they got their butt kicked by Alabama. So he told stories of dinosaurs, gas stations, and traveling in a family station wagon. The reaction to Mike Leach, if you are a fan of Mississippi State, is not good because he's now this is starting to get old.
Yeah.
Because they want to win some football games.
And this is a cycle with him.
But outside of Pullman, Washington, or Starkville, Mississippi, we all laugh and go, Mike Leach is funny. This is great. He's talking about dinosaurs in his hands. And I always wonder, is he ever going to take some responsibility for the way they play, or is it always on the players? I just wonder. I'm not the biggest Mike Leach fan. He wins football games. Maybe he doesn't want to win football games that matter. That's kind of important.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to get the sense that the Mississippi State fan base, which this was kind of fun for a little bit, the guy across the state, who is also eclectic in a different way, is actually winning football games that matter.
Yeah, the Mike Leach thing only plays where football only matters so much, right? That's why like a Lubbock makes sense for him. That's why a Pullman makes sense for him. Starkville, I get they don't have a long track record of success, but basically anywhere you go in the SEC outside of Vanderbilt, Kentucky maybe because they're focused on basketball, that might be it. That might be the whole list. I mean, I would have maybe said South Carolina, but they just gave Will Muschamp a huge, enormous check to go away. There's only a couple places you can probably get away with that in the SEC level. You probably belong more in a place like the Pac-12 that's a little more relaxed about their football. There's some places, or it's like a Group of 5 school where they are not as intense. It's a tough act to keep up in a place like Mississippi when you're not winning very many football games. And I don't know how long they're going to put up with it. I like Mike Leach more than you do, just as a personality. I don't know that I'd like him as a football coach in terms of being in the place that I either work or root for. But it's something that plays a lot better when you're winning 10 and 11 games at the end of the Texas Tech run, or in a place like Pullman where they're just happy to make a bowl game, than it does a place like Mississippi State where they have occasionally tasted enough success to make them want more.
I just wonder. I mean, like Saban has just crushed Mike Leach. Now Alabama crushes a lot of people, but Mississippi State is very regularly competitive. Now Mississippi State has had a recent stretch of good football. Remember, Dan Mullen had them number 1 in the country.
Yep.
I mean, Dak Prescott was there. They were number 1 in the country, and then the Mullen thing, flamed out, and he took off for Florida, and then they made a very awkward hire in Joe Moorhead, great offensive mind, but you're taking an East Coast guy and you're putting him in Starkville, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And that just never seemed to make sense, especially with an athletic director that's a baseball coach who probably is not, he's probably better as a baseball coach than he is as an athletic director. But I don't know. I listen to that, and he can be entertaining. I just wonder at some point with Mike Leach, does anybody care if he wins football games that matter?
I mean, I think they do in Starkville. I think nationally, mostly no.
So let's just stay on this of coaches that I have issues with.
Let's do it.
Jim Harbaugh yesterday. If you get a chance and you just want to have your mind blown, watch Harbaugh's Monday pressers of game week.
Okay.
Now this week is, you're taking on Michigan State. So it's a big rivalry game, and reporters are trying to bait Harbaugh into hey, you beat Ohio State, but you didn't beat Michigan State last year. Your rival. So he didn't want to go there yesterday, but somebody asked him because he's very analytical in his how he almost looks through you when you're asking a question, and then he goes into deep dive of the question. So yesterday he was asked about James Franklin because the last time that Michigan played was the incident in the tunnel at Penn State where you had Penn State players were throwing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at the Michigan players. And James Franklin got all upset. And Harbaugh essentially yesterday said, I don't have time for James Franklin, and essentially called him a whiner. I don't think Harbaugh, when they look at James Franklin, is alone. Like Bielema yesterday was very complimentary about Nebraska looking different. Like you can tell that they watched the first 3 games and then the next 3 games, and they noticed something about Nebraska.
Sure.
So Bielema brings that up. He may not know Mickey at all. Maybe they crossed paths once or twice, but he was very complimentary of Nebraska looks different. He didn't say, man, their players are good. He just said they look different.
Yeah.
So coaches will, take their time to compliment another coach. But Harbaugh is one of those guys that if you are on the wrong side and he says it out loud, which I think other coaches in this conference want to say, is we just laugh at James Franklin because he is a phony and doesn't have a ton of respect. Because for Harbaugh to go there against a guy that he recruits against and is his own division, I think says a lot about James Franklin, the person, and how other coaches feel about them. Because very rarely will coaches go coach on coach crime.
Yeah, that's one of the rarest forms of trash talk you see because, the quote unquote coaching fraternity and all of that. And, you kind of never know when you're going to cross paths with somebody or need a job somewhere or whatever. I think Jim Harbaugh probably feels pretty safe. He's not going to need a job anytime soon. But I do think there's a huge, and I'm not saying this as if he deserves more, but a huge lack of respect for James Franklin from other coaches. He's an incredible recruiter, really, really good recruiter. I don't think other football coaches think he's a good football coach. And if you were to look at his recruiting classes based on the results, you might lend yourself to that same opinion of really, really good at getting guys in the door, maybe not so good at getting the most out of those guys once they're in the door. And he's also kind of a weird dude. I mean, there's, you remember when he got hired, there's the stories about when he interviews assistant coaches, he asks about how attractive their wives are and things like that. And he's a weird guy. And I don't know that he really endears himself to a lot of other people.
They play Ohio State this weekend, which was, what is surprising is that this has got to be one of the rare times that Ohio State goes to Penn State and the game's not at night.
Yeah.
Usually their whiteout.
Yeah.
game.
And so their whiteout was last week against Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was calculated not to make the Ohio State game the whiteout.
Well, yeah, especially.
But it's what, the 11? It's 11
it's the
a.m.
big noon
kickoff.
So is that, I'll say that's probably more of a Fox thing than a Penn State thing. You're probably not going to do because they always do their whiteout at night. They're not going to do the whiteout at 11. So that probably has as much to do with it as
But
anything.
I think they set it well in advance of
The
game,
whiteout?
what game they're selecting for their whiteout.
Oh, I thought they always did it at night.
Yeah, but they selected before the start times and all that stuff are set.
Okay.
Like they selected I remember them like in June talking about Minnesota, and I don't think it had a kickoff date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe they work with the networks and be like, well, we like a night game for that because we want to do a whiteout.
I mean, big noon kickoff.
Or Fox said, hey, we want that game for once.
Which the Fox pregame show, which is so tied to the Big Ten that they're showing up at, Iowa, Ohio State. They're showing up at Michigan, Indiana. That show, which, I think has some traction now. If they're so tied into the Big Ten, I don't know how that show grows.
Yeah, it becomes very regional.
Because they're locked in.
Yeah.
And they just go from Big Ten to Big Ten site.
Well, and they used to go to they would go to the Big 12, and I don't think they ever, obviously they didn't do the Pac.
Yeah,
but
I don't know
now
if-
they've gone all in.
I don't know if the Foxes just said we're all Big Ten and we just travel from Big Ten to Big Ten, because look at the variety of game day. Whatever you say about game day,
They're all over the place.
they go to where the best atmosphere usually is.
And this week will be fun.
Yeah, they were in Eugene, great atmosphere. Now they're going to be, they basically for 3 hours, Jackson, Mississippi has a commercial on ESPN's Game Day, and it'll be a great environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll get the Dion experience. They'll get telling the story of Jackson State, but I hope they tell the story of Jackson, Mississippi, and I hope that their guest picker is Tim McCarver.
Whoa, not where I thought you were going with that.
Did not expect a Tim McCarver call out for a game day at a couple of HBCUs.
You don't think Deion Sanders would approve if Tim McCarver was
I
picking
see what
games?
you did there.
Maybe not.
Do you think they'll just have Deion pick the games?
Might as well. Just bring him up. Bring him on over. Just have Deion do it. Coach Prime can do it all.
I mean, if he wanted to, I imagine he'd just sit on the set for 3 hours.
Oh, probably.
And be part of the show. I mean, it's not like he hasn't done it before in the NFL Network.
Take that big noon kickoff.
Well,
McAfee and Prime.
But I
and
think
Corso.
that hurts Fox's pregame show is they're so locked in. Why are they in Bloomington, Indiana?
They should never be in Bloomington, Indiana.
They basically have just been wherever Ohio State and Michigan have been.
I mean, they love. I mean, and you know what? They're in the world of making money, and those two programs
They make the money.
They make a lot of money for you, but I think they limit themselves on exposure and just atmosphere.
No,
you know?
they really do. I mean, if you're locked in, there's not going to be a good Big Ten matchup every week that deserves having a national pregame show there every week. I understand if you have a preference. Hey, if Michigan's playing somebody's good, if Ohio State's playing somebody good, let's go and focus on that one. But that doesn't happen every week. They still have to play the Rutgers and Indianas of the world too. So go out, go to the SEC, go to the Big 12, do like Game Day does. Game Day does an FCS game every year, and that's always a really cool atmosphere.
Iowa Rutgers, they dropped the ball. That's where they should have been.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Fox has ever been to a game that they're not doing. Have they? I mean, they've only been on the air for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, so I think that's part of their.
It leads into their game, and
Whereas Game Day will just go anywhere, whether they're carrying the game or not, which I appreciate. I'm sure the Fox executives are a little petty about it and be like, oh, we don't want to do a commercial for a different network's game, but more people are going to watch your show long term if you're at the best game every week.
Yeah, and look at now when CBS is in play. I mean, CBS is going to have the game of the week in the Big Ten. So you're going to say that the Fox pregame show is not going to go to where that game is? I really think you're limiting yourself in terms of growing your show.
Yeah, you're going to end up in your Piscataways and Bloomingtons and Champagnes a lot if you don't.
And you know what you become? You're just more well-known talent, but you're the BTN tailgate
it's
show.
Big Ten Network. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's Big Ten Network over the air.
All right, 6:56. Sam McEwen's coming up in the next hour. There's Robbie Jimmy here as well on 1620 The Zone.
Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
There are actually two kinds of cigars. The first is the one you smoke with beloved family and friends. The second, the one you enjoy with friends you've just met. And you'll find both at Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge. At Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, there's a well-stocked humidor with some of the best bands from around the world and a bar with your favorite cocktails and other drinkables. So what do you say? Which cigar will you be enjoying tonight? Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off I-680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's.
Caller 4 right now, 402-951-1620. Qualifies for 1620 The Zone's four-quarter pick'em. It's your chance to pick 4 football games correctly against the spread to win $1,620. Call 402-951-1620. Call now to qualify with 1620 The Zone.
We are well underway with the NFL season, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. It's that easy. Just sign up with promo code HAPPER. There's so many different options for you guys when you look at the FanDuel sportsbook. You can go inside the game. You can take the money line and the spread, or take the individual player props. We like some of the season-long ones that we've been talking to you about. Endless options over at the FanDuel Sportsbook, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So sign up today with promo code HAPPER for your no-sweat first bet. That's promo code HAPPER, HAPPER. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
The IRS doesn't mess around. If they want your money, they'll take it. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too, even threaten your home or business. Don't take on the IRS alone. If you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief. The experts at Optima specialize in a powerful IRS tax assistance program called the Fresh Start Initiative. And their clients that qualify are saving thousands. One call starts the process to stop the demand letters, stop aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS from targeting you. But don't delay. It's important to act now while you still have options. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. Optima has already resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get your life back. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima now for your free consultation.
Call 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Steve is intrigued by the paranormal.
Otherworldly spirits really make a house a home, you know?
Janice has different taste.
I'd like my house to not be haunted.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Steve and Janice found a renovated Victorian that's only haunted from 9 to 5.
Okay, wife's home. Now I gotta bounce.
Bye, Steve.
Bundling without compromise at geico.com.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout. Here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 6.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 6.99% APR to 21.49% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
This is Scott Schultz from Host Coffee. 2022 marks our 50th year and business has never been better. We continue to grow and add new customers. Many employers are looking for new ideas for their staff as people return to the office. Our pantry service is a great office amenity for staff and guests. Fresh food, snacks, coffee, water, and other beverages for employees and guests. Enhance your office experience with pantry service from Host Coffee. Learn more at hostcoffee.net.
Dancing crew, trip for two, nailed the final interview. Game with Doug, brand new mug. Come here, kid, give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. Boosters designed for COVID-19 variants are now available. If you've had your primary series, schedule an updated COVID-19 booster appointment as soon as you're eligible. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
1620 The Zone.
All right, Sam McEwen's going to join us coming up at 7:30. I'll get his thoughts on where he was at watching Skip Carey and Paul Hornung do the 1986 TBS game when Nebraska and Illinois played. And Keith Endzone Jones was running down the sidelines in those familiar white shoes that Nebraska wore.
Yeah, they make you look faster.
Were they white Converse?
Jimmy, was that Mississippi Queen for Jackson State? Is that what was happening there?
It crossed my mind as it was playing, and then I thought maybe that should have been the song after Mike Leach. So
yeah, okay. I was just curious. Yeah. Just trying to tie it all together. Playing a little galaxy brain here.
Just had the guitar riff in my head actually on the way to work this morning.
Oh, fair enough.
Sometimes
all right.
That's all it is.
Did they wear Converse back in the day?
Yeah,
I got to go back and watch that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did Apex not make shoes?
No.
But they made some nifty jackets in the early 90s.
Hey, there were a lot of guys that used to sell their shoes when I first started going to school in Lincoln.
Yeah.
Because people liked them. They were cool.
Yeah.
You couldn't really get them anywhere else.
Yeah.
Except for Nebraska football players, and they would sell their shoes.
That's the so that's a little secret that people don't always know about, like when either guys get new gear or if there's like an outgoing coach. So I have a friend that works at a university and the coach was leaving, and they have just like a bunch of extra stuff in that guy's size that they just start giving away. And he's like, "Hey man, what size you wear? Do you want some of this? Whatever." Coach was a little smaller than I am, but it was, I was like, man, let's get some gear. It's like Christmas around there when somebody who is high enough profile to get that much free gear moves on. Everybody loves it because it's just rain and free gear.
Well, and then there's some times where a coach who has been at a school for a while, that's really the only clothes they have.
Yeah.
Is the school issued stuff. And so when they get fired or they move on and they want to wear something else, they have to go and buy clothes because their whole closet is full of, gear, Adidas gear or Nike gear with the school logo on it.
Well, or when they get to their new school, they just hand them duffel bags full of stuff, shoes, gear, everything. It's like when you go to the Olympic Village and you've seen those videos of you got the Nike duffel bag and you got the Polo duffel bag. Man, I just want the gear. That's all I care about.
It's good to have. Some guys hang around and they just grab gear. They don't ever play.
I told you, I still consult for a couple teams just to get gear.
Smart man. All right, Sammy Max coming up bottom of the hour. Brian Christopherson a little bit later on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden, AC, heating, plumbing, and more. Time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown near 90th and L. Then on Center, be prepared for some significant delay from 183rd to 168th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza.
Not your typical restaurant, not your typical place. Romeo's, not your typical restaurant, for your not your typical taste. Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza. Not your typical restaurant.
Hey, Olivia, what do you think when you think of Jones Bros Cupcakes and Cafe?
I think, can we go now?
Jones Bros is famous for award-winning cupcakes. Our cafe is delicious for breakfast and lunch, too.
Try French macarons.
And our light bulb boba drinks.
And our ice cream.
And our coffee and lattes.
And our croissant donuts.
We cater, too. Come see us at Jones Bros Cupcakes and Cafe in Exarban Village.
Come on, let's go.
It's Halloween at Genesis Health Clubs. Join with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 20% per month every month. Omaha, it's the spookiest time of the year, but starting a new fitness routine doesn't have to be scary. Genesis is transforming fitness here in Omaha with our fully remodeled Cass, Westroads, and Terra Plaza locations, plus new locations at 132nd and Center and Midtown Crossing. Come see our just finished luxury remodel at 84th and Q with all new finishes, equipment, and amenities for the best fitness experience in Omaha. Whatever your fitness needs, Genesis is here to help every step of the way, and there's nothing scary about that. This Halloween, join Genesis Health Club with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 20% per month every single month. But hurry, this offer will end before you have a chance to count your Halloween candy. It ends on Halloween and won't extend. Come to Genesis and get in the best shape of your life so you can handle anything those zombies, werewolves, and vampires throw at you. Go to GenesisHealthClubs.com before Halloween and get no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 20% per month every month. This offer will not extend.
42 Degrees, the source for glass and water pipes, vaporizers, candles, kratom, CBDs, and so much more. And if you're looking for premium certified e-juice, look no further than 42 Degrees.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. That's ziprecruiter.com/radio. ziprecruiter.com/radio.
Listen to Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jay Overtime, the Creighton men's basketball postgame show on 1620 The Zone. Live from DJ's Dugout downtown. It's right after every home game, presented by Barry Law. Exclusively on your home for the Creighton Blue Jays. 1620 The Zone.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
Wow, who is in dire straits this morning?
Who isn't?
The title of this song, Money for Nothing, brought up an interesting discussion I saw on Twitter on Saturday from Iowa football fans watching that game and Spencer Petras and not wanting to go after college kids.
Mm-hmm.
That I saw one person, and they are a blue check marker. They're like, screw it. Kids are getting paid now. College kids are fair game. You're hurting the program. You're hurting your legacy. You need to not be the quarterback.
Ooh, okay.
Now, it was during the game. I'm sure Spencer Petras was not on the sidelines, of course, scrolling through Twitter because he was playing.
I mean, he might have been. We don't know for sure. Maybe that's what they do in that blue tent. It's not actually for concussion protocol. It's I got to check the gram
for selfies.
Got to make a sponsored post here for my NIL deal.
Hey, I'm just gonna tell you that. I mean, we've seen it happen here. If you're a quarterback and even you go into the locker room, during the game, don't check your phone.
Certainly don't post or like anything. You can look at it. Just don't leave a paper trail.
Hey, so that's one thing that has changed around here. Remember when guys used to get injured or were not playing, but they were like in the locker room and they would start tweeting about the game or they would start liking stuff about, hey, how come blah, blah, blah isn't playing?
Yeah.
That's changed.
That's
okay.
That's good. That's a positive, I think.
We haven't had those in a while.
You probably don't want players on your roster active on social media in game, regardless of their playing status.
That used to be a thing. Like when an injured player would not make a trip and you would pay close attention to his Twitter account because they were watching the game. Woo! But along those lines in a circus, I was thinking, so I did watch the 86 game. Yesterday. Not the whole game. I mean, 59-14, I wasn't going to hang around that long. I just want to see every time Keith Jones touched the football. But if you think about, and it's very bizarro world because there is the part of Illinois, the way they're playing, that they're the third best team in the Big Ten. They could have their sights set on Indy, But there's also the part of the bizarro world that if Nebraska pulls an upset on Saturday, the West goes into chaos again.
Total and utter shambles.
But there's people that
I'm
are
here for it.
People that are wondering, well, Illinois, you got to be careful. You're coming off a bye week. Everybody's patting you on the back. There's expectations now that you're going to be in Indianapolis. You can't overlook Nebraska. We're in bizarro world here where Illinois football is being told you can't overlook Nebraska. But think about this series.
That doesn't even sound right coming out of your mouth.
No, but hey,
it's correct and accurate.
Good for Illinois.
Yes.
That would even be broached.
Yeah.
That you're Illinois football and you can't overlook Nebraska. But think about this series for a moment. So when Nebraska got in the Big Ten, they were not in the same division, so they didn't play right away.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also a series since Nebraska's been in the Big Ten that brought us the kid that wore the half Nebraska, half Illinois shirt.
Yep, iconic.
It also brought us the time where I can't remember which Nebraska player was caught on camera taking a leak on the sidelines. Like they had him shielded.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do the towels or whatever. Yeah, you make the wall.
So we've had that. We had the game in Riley's first year where Nebraska had that game wrapped up. And, you know how that 15-year ended.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like the first 5 games, 4 of the first 5 came down to the opponent's final play.
Yep.
So, Nebraska gives it back to Illinois. Illinois drives down the field. We have pass interference after pass interference after pass interference call in the end zone. And then Illinois finally scores and they win 14-13.
Mm-hmm.
That was a brutal Big Red overreaction show.
Yeah, I'm not mad I wasn't on that one.
So then you have one of the most thorough games played by a Scott Frost team was his first year when they beat Illinois. When they put up 54. Now, the defense gave up 35, but the offense, Adrian Martinez was great that day. Stanley Morgan was great. Ozigbo was great. Nebraska looked like what Nebraska was supposed to look like in 2018. And, that was not a great Illinois team, but Nebraska rolled. Then you remember the following year, Nebraska goes there, and it becomes the Adrian Martinez, Wandale Robinson game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically the only 2 guys on offense, and Nebraska gets out of there winning 42-38. Then after that, there was the COVID game where, Nebraska runs a fake punt, and they only have 10 guys on the field, and it was just a debacle and get beat by Illinois. And then last year on week 0, where, Bielema's first game, you would think new staff, they would change some things up. Well, yes, they did.
Had to throw out half the playbook.
And Nebraska lost that football game. What a strange series between these two teams. Just odd games, odd results. You also had Nebraska played there on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Where all I can remember is our whole goal was to interview the Nebraska ball boy that outraced Stanley Morgan into the end zone.
You get those every once in a while, like on TV, and you're like,
yeah,
is that just the angle that ball boy looks like he's running a 4.3?
Well, someone needs to go find, remember the redheaded guy?
From Florida State?
Yeah, from Florida State.
There was like a whole, if you search up for Big Red FSU, there's like a whole like weird internet corner devoted to him.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Ball boys get a weird amount of attention.
Well, especially when they're sprinting down the field and they outrun the ball carrier, the receiver.
It's like those clips of refs that you see like pull away from guys running free down the field. You're like, what is that guy running?
So there's a officiating crew here in Omaha. It's Daryl Moore's crew. And I wish I could remember his name, but he's the back judge. He's got some wheels.
Yeah.
Like he will outrun, like a wide receiver catches a wide open pass and has 40 yards to run. And the back judge is like even with him. He will outrun him to the end zone.
Yeah. The best ones are where they pull away and you're like, what is happening here?
But this is so this edition, and Illinois is now a 7.5-point favorite, and they're getting a lot of attention. I get it. They should.
Mm-hmm.
They're 6-1, and they are a fluky game away from being 7-0.
Yeah, they dominated that game against Indiana.
That's a game that's going to stick with them, and it happened early in the year. And Bielema alluded to it yesterday because he was kind of doing some comparison. Hey, Nebraska beat Indiana. We didn't beat Indiana. But they could realistically be 7-0. And remember, last year, they were, in his first year, they almost made a bowl game.
Yeah.
They won at Penn State and they won at Minnesota. So they're well ahead of schedule. But when I hear that you can't overlook Nebraska. That's why I think this is quite the test for Illinois. However you feel about what Nebraska is going to bring to the table. Because what happens if this is a four-quarter game and it gets a little close?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they won a close game recently against Iowa, but now it's on the road. You never know what's going to happen. You got all this attention. This is, people are talking about, hey, you're ranked high. You're going to go to Indianapolis. Do you have that hiccup in you? Or is the Nebraska-Illinois game, from the Illinois perspective, a game where you prove people wrong that this is the new Illinois and there is no hiccup off of a bye week against a team that's also off a bye week? We're playing on the road as a 7.5-point favorite, and we do business, and this is who we are. The rest of the Big Ten West, deal with it. I'm curious because I don't know that I'm ready to go there. I think this is a intriguing test, and Bielema wanted to say it yesterday, but he dropped nuggets alluding to he's very curious on how they handle this type of game.
He seems very aware of the situation his team is in, right? Like he seems like he is grasping all of the things you're talking about, that this is an unfamiliar situation. I mean, they went from the hunters to the hunted in the matter of like 3 weeks, which is faster than it normally happens. Usually it's from year to year where it's like, oh man, Creighton last year finished second to last in the Big Ten, Big East or whatever. All of a sudden, boom, the next year, they're favored to win the league. This has happened for Illinois. I mean, after they lost to Indiana, most people are just like, another Illinois year, whatever, right? Because we knew Indiana wasn't very good. Kind of just was like, maybe they'll make a bowl game, maybe they won't, whatever. And then within the course of a few weeks, it really flipped on them to where they're the favorite in the Big Ten West. They're the best team in the league, not named Michigan or Ohio State. And all of a sudden, they're a more than touchdown favorite in Lincoln. I can't tell you how paranoid my Champaign friends are because they don't feel good about it.
I think they should. They should feel paranoid.
They're looking at it and they're like, how are we more than touchdown favorites in Lincoln, Nebraska? Like they just can't wrap their heads around it yet. And you wonder, I know fans and players and coaches are different, but you wonder if there's any bit of that in the back of players' minds as well, where they're like, we're going into Nebraska as 7.5-point favorites, or maybe they don't have the number in their head, but maybe we're going into Nebraska as the clear cut. Like this isn't even supposed to be a coin flip. Like we just go and win this game. Like there's no part of that messes with their head just a little bit. I get athletes are wired different, but they're also people, right? Like on some level, they experience a lot of the same human emotions in surprising situations that regular people do. And you have to wonder if there's just a little bit of that. And I think that might be the biggest thing that Bielema was fighting against this week. Because listen, if you just line them up, right? Their offensive line, going to kick Nebraska's defensive line's butt. Their defensive line, probably going to kick Nebraska's offensive line's butt, right? You're just lining them up. You like Illinois in this game. But there's a lot of mental hurdles and gymnastics that Illinois is probably going through right now, being in a position that they probably didn't think they were going to be in year two.
And people in Champaign or wherever else in the state of Illinois or St. Louis, that people talk Illinois football, they're going, okay, now you're doing the schedule thing.
Yeah.
7-1. Oh, Michigan State comes to Champaign, 8-1. Purdue comes here, 9-1. Oh, we go to Michigan, that's 9-2. Northwestern, 10-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're starting to do that. I think they have every reason to be a little bit hesitant in this game. But I will say this, that if they come into Lincoln and they win a game, whether they win by 8, whether they win by 7, whether they win by 1, all of a sudden, they're no doubter a third best team in this division, or this, well, not top team in the division, third best team in the Big Ten, because now they would have beaten Wisconsin on the road, Nebraska on the road, and Iowa and Minnesota at home. And you're like, okay, division is down, but you're doing work.
Yeah.
And then you can play the schedule game of possibly getting to double-figure wins in year 2 of Bielema.
Well, and here's the thing. Illinois can't control what the Big Ten West is this year, right? All they can do is go out and beat the rest of the Big Ten West. It'd be the same thing if Nebraska had been competent this year. We wouldn't be talking to ourselves as like, well, it's a down Big Ten West. And like, if they go out and beat Iowa and Wisconsin this year, we're not gonna be like, oh, it's a down Big Ten West. We're gonna be like, hey, they finally beat Iowa and Wisconsin, and in the same year, no less. right? That'll be the biggest feather in Mickey's cap if he's still in the running to be head coach at that point by the last 2 weeks of the season, right? It's not going to be like, oh, Wisconsin and Iowa are down. We're not going to worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. No, it is a big deal. You go out and beat the teams on your schedule, with the exception of a bizarre Indiana game. And this is not revisionist history. They should have won that game. That was a dominating performance by Illinois that they gave away. But with the exception of the Indiana game, they have gone out and taken care of business against everybody on their schedule. And yet, they're nervous because they're not used to being in this position. They're not used to going to the Iowas of the world, to the Nebraskas of the world. Because I think they were dogs at Iowa, right?
God, were they? Well, I think they were because, no, they might have been. I think they were a favorite.
Okay.
Now, Minnesota, they were they? I think they were an underdog against Minnesota because there was questions if DeVito and Williams would play.
Right. So you go and you are not used. This is the first time that you are a clear-cut, more than touchdown favorite against a Big Ten West opponent that usually you're the one chasing. And all of a sudden, the script has flipped a little bit and you're not totally sure how to behave on that side of the coin. It's going to be a really interesting dynamic, and I think it's going to be really interesting how Brett Bielema deals with it in the next few days, because that might be his biggest job this week, is dealing with that portion of it.
All right, Small World, DC, longtime listener who's in the healthcare industry. He says White Lightning works for his company now.
Okay.
The ball boy in, what would it be, 17?
Okay.
In the Nebraska-Illinois game.
Nice. Has he still got wheels?
I would imagine. Think he goes on calls or whatever he does and people recognize him? We had him on the show the Monday morning after.
It's a very...
Because he was, like they would show, Stanley Morgan scoring a touchdown, and this kid would be like flying by him or running step for step with him. I'm like, we got to get that guy on the show.
There's a very niche group of people that are really excited when he shows up.
Yes, they are. All right, Sam McEwen before the hour is over. There will be sound out of Lincoln today. Maybe some further discussion on some beat-up guys. We already kind of know that Nick Hendrich is out for the year. Chris Kolarvik showed up on the depth chart yesterday as the starter with Luke Reimer, as Luke Reimer will return. And in this game, it is much needed. And maybe some other adjustments that are on the depth chart that will garner some conversation, from a Tommy Hill to a Chris Hickman, no longer listed in the 3 deep on tight end, but A.J. Rollins now has been promoted. So all that's coming up as the day moves along. Sam McEwen in a bit. Also, Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. There's Robbie, Jimmy, and Gary on 1620 The Zone. Hey, coming up next month, Jay Glazer will be in town. Well, what's he going to talk about? Well, you know what? It is his appearance as a great event. The Kim Foundation's annual A Time for Hope and Healing always brings in a well-known mental health advocate to speak at their luncheon, which this year is Wednesday, November 9th from 11:30 to 1 at Embassy Suites in La Vista. And Jay Glazer, who is most known for his work as the NFL insider, longtime NFL insider for Fox Sports NFL Sunday, he has written a book, and he's got a personal story to share. His book, Unbreakable, How I Turned My Depression and Anxiety into Motivation, and you can too. He shares his personal story in the book, and he will at the luncheon on Wednesday, November 9th, of living in the gray and that working through it to work better through all the things that he does, all of his endeavors, and how he has overcome some of the mental health challenges. Now, if you would like to be there to support a great cause, pretty easy. Tickets are only $75 a piece, and you can purchase them now at thekimfoundation.org. For tickets and more information, thekimfoundation.org. Jay Glazer in town for the Kim Foundation's annual A Time for Hope and Healing event coming up on Wednesday, November 9th from 11:30 to 1 at Embassy Suites in La Vista.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
Connie Mack only won 9 pennants in his 55 years as a manager. What a bum.
Could you imagine sports radio in the time of Connie Mack? Boy, I tell you, this Connie Mack guy just can't get it done. Can't win the big one. Can't get over the hump. Only 5 World Series. Connie Mack, more like Connie Hack, am I right?
That's exactly how they talked.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast, presented by Bellevue Berry and Pumpkin Ranch, from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
After a chilly start, expect cool and breezy conditions for your Tuesday. We'll see plenty of sunshine, but north to northwest winds will pick up late in the morning, gust up to 25 miles per hour through the afternoon. Highs around 59. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden AC Heating, Plumbing, and More Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect some significant slowdown from 108th all the way to 90th along L Street. Then on Center, be prepared for some significant delays from 192nd to 168th. And along Highway 370, be prepared for just a little bit of slowdown near Gold Coast Road. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Everyone knows Saul's pays top dollar for your gold, but Saul's pays cash on the spot for your precious metals too. Silver, gold, platinum, coins, bars. Who wants to wait to get paid? Get to Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Saul's Jewelry and Loan. You'll find it all at Saul's Jewelry.
It's Halloween at Genesis Health Clubs. Join with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 20% per month every month. Omaha, it's the spookiest time of the year, but starting a new fitness routine doesn't have to be scary. Genesis is transforming fitness here in Omaha with our fully remodeled Cass, Westroads, and Terra Plaza locations, plus new locations at 132nd and Center and Midtown Crossing. Come see our just finished luxury remodel at 84th and Q with all new finishes, equipment, and amenities for the best fitness experience in Omaha. Whatever your fitness needs, Genesis is here to help every step of the way, and there's nothing scary about that. This Halloween, join Genesis Health Clubs with no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 20% per month every single month. But hurry, this offer will end before you have a chance to count your Halloween candy. It ends on Halloween and won't extend. Come to Genesis and get in the best shape of your life so you can handle anything those zombies, werewolves, and vampires throw at you. Go to GenesisHealthClubs.com before Halloween and get no enrollment fee, no contract, and save 20% per month every month. This offer will not extend.
This is Darcy with Dingman's Collision Center. We have run our business for years by helping the vehicle owner retain the value of their vehicle by working for them with warranted, safe, high-standard repairs. For this reason, Omaha vehicle owners have chosen Dingman's to repair their vehicles. Your loyalty has been shown through repeat business and amazing referrals. You've also voted us first place Best of Omaha for the past 17 years. We want to say thank you for choosing the Dingman family and our incredible technicians to repair your vehicles. At Dingman's, we'd rather be the best than apologize for anything less.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
The Madness Haunted House will terrify you to your very soul. Come, your pants all over the 2 acres of fear at Pioneer Trail Orchard. Screaming for 30 minutes until you can scream no more. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. FearTheMad.com.
Dear gas prices, go take a hike. Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. The Toyota hybrid lineup brings efficiency with power and savings with style. Not to mention top tech to help keep you connected. Plush premium interiors and the most advanced Toyota safety features. So, now you know who you're talking to. Toyota, the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. With a hybrid or electric vehicle built for every driver. Seriously, dear gas prices? Do you really think you could stand in our way? Think again. Toyota Hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
See your independently owned Omaha Metro Toyota dealers. Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Corwin Toyota of Bellevue.
The 2023 cost of living adjustment was announced by the Social Security Administration on October 13th. At 8.7%, it is one of the largest dollar amount increases. AARP's CEO Joanne Jenkins says this will provide much-needed relief to millions of Americans.
The guaranteed benefits provided by Social Security are more crucial than ever as high inflation remains a problem for older Americans. Social Security is the largest source of retirement income for most Americans and provides nearly all income for 1 in 4 seniors.
The 2023 adjustment should boost the average Social Security benefit by about $145 a month.
AARP urges leaders of both parties to work together to protect Social Security for the long term. Millions of Americans work hard throughout their lives to earn their benefits, and Social Security is a promise that must not be broken.
For more information, go to aarp.org/Social Security.
1620 The Zone.
All right, 7:33 on a Tuesday morning. That means it's time for Sam McCune of the Omaha World Herald. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning.
Hey, this is going to be a busy week. Ranked team coming into Lincoln. Kind of feel big. Games on ABC. One of the last times in Nebraska will be on ABC. But before we get into that, there also may be at some point, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, the 23 schedule will come out. The last schedule that we think will be with divisions. If you're Trev Alberts and you're sitting at the table and you're discussing what's best for your respective school when it comes to future scheduling, what do you think is best for Nebraska? Pods, division, no divisions, no pods, just 16 teams?
I think you're going to see some version of pod when it comes, and that's in 2024. I think you'll see some version of scheduling where there's a couple of scheduling partners. I know at one time there was a thought process that there might be 3. I think that's still possible. This is based on things that I've heard, but I think the idea that it's going to be Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa has changed. I think that would have been true if they'd stayed at 14. But my sense of it is that it's going to be, you may see an LA school wrapped in there. Trev has said this before to me and also just publicly, is that Nebraska is still, for all of its struggles, still a brand. And it's going to play some of these football games probably in perpetuity that Indiana might not. Just like Indiana basketball might play some games that Nebraska basketball may not. And, he was, this is a couple of years ago, a year ago now, he's talking about, well, if we ever did that Pac-12 arrangement where Big Ten teams were playing the Pac-12, he had kind of told Scott, well, hey, we're probably going to get UCLA and USC. We're probably not going to get, Oregon State a lot. That's just the way that deal goes. And so I think Nebraska has to expect that to some degree. I think they got a little bit of the short end of the stick here, recently. Getting Ohio State 6 years in a row was kind of rough, but yeah, I think they can expect something that balances things out, but also, Nebraska is not in the West, but it's further west than any other Big Ten program currently until 2024. So that's probably something to consider. And so, yeah, I think there'll be some sort of a scheduling arrangement that Nebraska fans think is a little tweaked unfairly to Nebraska, but that's part of the brand that the Huskers have.
Yep. Sam, how much do you think competitive balance will be considered in deciding either the pods or the divisions or whatever? Even though the landscape of college football kind of shifts pretty frequently, how much can you actually put on competitive balance, and how much can you put on just geography or other factors?
I think you'll see some preference for geographical rivals. Iowa claims like 9 rivals, so I don't know exactly how they're going to do
It's every team they play.
It's unbelievable. He's like the Iowa writers. Oh, what about the Northwestern series? Yeah, that's okay. Nebraska's all the way on the other end. Nebraska refuses to have rivals. We can't have a rivalry with Iowa or whatever. And Iowa's like, we must have all of these. So I don't know. I think geographical rivalry will play a part. I think the Nebraska-Iowa game will be protected. If you were going to tell me there was a second game protected, I actually think it might be Minnesota. But I don't know. It's possible it could be Wisconsin too. Obviously, Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin have a nice trio there, and they all like playing each other a lot. But I also feel like the coolest thing about the Iowa-Minnesota series is the trophy. I don't know that those two programs care for each other very much, and so I don't know if that's a fun or healthy rivalry, or I'm not always sure exactly how to gauge that rivalry, because I don't think those two programs, the two states, are terribly fond of one another. So, I don't know what exactly they'll do. Competitive balance will probably be figured in, but rest assured that Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan will be balanced against USC and UCLA. They're not going to add those two teams to the league and then not have Penn State go out to LA. It's going to happen. And James Franklin will finally get to coach inside LA Coliseum. He can see what it would be like to coach the team that he's been linked to 9 times. So, I think there'll be certainly some of that. I was at Purdue a couple weeks ago, and Mike Carmen, who's the guy out at the Lafayette Courier-Journal, great old school guy, he was telling me that back in the 50s and 60s, Purdue wouldn't get very many home games against Michigan. They just have most of the games at Michigan because they can make more money because the stadium was bigger and all this other stuff. And so Purdue would host the lesser teams of the Big Ten, but they would usually go on the road for Michigan, and they'd get like Michigan twice every decade or something. So I was like, I didn't have any idea that was true. The Big Ten's always been unique in the way that they handle that scheduling process. So I don't know. I'm just trying to prep Nebraska fans. You'll probably be disappointed. You'll probably think Nebraska's getting the short end of the stick. You're probably not going to see Maryland on there a lot, but that's just how it goes.
Well, I think if the schedules had stayed the same, the conference didn't expand, I think 24 was going to be Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State were the crossovers.
Yeah. Thank God they're changing it.
No, it's completely. I mean, Nebraska has, again, they've been that, and we don't always. The thing that I don't think we necessarily know is exactly what kinds of conversations Sean Eichhorst had back in the day with Jim Delaney when they set some of those schedules. Because Sean, we can thank Sean Eichhorst for the Friday Night Rutgers. Like he gave a tolerance level. It's like, we will never host one unless it's Black Friday, but he didn't want Black Friday. But we will go and play a couple of these, which is exactly what happened in 17 with Illinois. And as people noticed, in the final year of the contract at Rutgers. Yep. And so, I think you'll see Nebraska's tolerance for that go down, but I think you'll see their tolerance potentially go up for, if they can expand week 0. Anybody who read Scott Dochterman's piece yesterday knows that the Big Ten wants to actually have a week 0 slate, but you're going to have to find a way to get the NCAA to agree to have more games on week 0, which I think they will, because we're going to change the playoff, and I think the NCAA is going to be okay with it. And then I think you're going to see a higher tolerance for the weeks where you don't have a week 0, would somebody play a Labor Day Sunday night game?
Which I think is a great slot.
Yeah. I like Sunday night, Labor Day Sunday night, than Labor Day Monday night. Because I think you get into Labor Day Monday night and you're shortening your following week. But Labor Day Sunday night, no NFL. Of course, the NFL could change. And I'm not putting it past the NFL to do almost anything, because if we can tell, they're ready to do everything. I mean, they're ready to put games. They're ready to turn it into a Vegas casino and just have games everywhere. Right? And so you just don't know what the NFL is going to do. But college football needs to go forward and be confident, because I think the NFL, and I love the NFL, probably more than college football, but I think the NFL is overplaying its hand a little. And they're putting too many games on too many nights with too many crappy matchups, and I actually think people will get less enamored with the sport than more enamored. And I think you'll see the NFL over a decade or so contract back and pull back some of these games.
There's a lot of money from Amazon, but that Thursday is vulnerable. I mean, the ratings haven't been great because you got to go on Amazon Prime. And also, let's be honest, the football hasn't been very good. If the football is not good, we're not going to stick around and watch. Let's talk about the football on Saturday. And let's start with Illinois on offense. Their defense gets a lot of love, but their offense has improved, 86 more yards a game, 6 more points per game. They got the first guy to go over 1,000. He ran the ball a ton against Minnesota. They are tied for 10th in the country, running 79 plays a game. Purdue is 7th. They run 80. Indiana runs 81. If you're looking at how Nebraska gets off the field or has success on Saturday against this offense, what has to happen?
Oh, I mean, they've got to stop the run on first down. To be clear, I think Nebraska's going to struggle to get off the field. I think that's going to be one of the challenges, unfortunately, of this weekend. They may not give up a bunch of big plays, but I think they're going to give up chunks, 5, 7, 9, that kind of thing. They got to stop the run. They have to feel comfortable and confident that their corners, imperfect as they may be, can get the coverage job done and play man to man, and have some one high safety and bring another guy down into the box and all the other cliches you can use. They're going to have to stop the run and stop it on first and second down. One of the challenges that Illinois has exposed Nebraska over the last 3 years on this is Nebraska is not great outside the tackle stopping the run. And usually that means A, your defensive ends or your edge rushers are getting turned, which they do. And B, you don't have great running from your middle linebackers. They're getting caught in traffic, and they have. And so you're going to see Illinois attack the flanks a little bit of Nebraska's run defense, try to get outside and get stuff off tackle. Chase Brown has been good at that. 2 years ago, he had a great game at Nebraska running those power pulling plays with a couple of guards, getting out in front. So they're going to do all that stuff again. Brett Milam certainly knows how to press the gas pedal on a run game. So it's going to be really challenging from a time of possession standpoint. I don't know if Illinois is going to score 35 points, but they're going to hold on to the ball for a while and try to grind out, a 28-17 kind of win.
Yep. Sam, looking at the way Illinois plays defense, they do tend to put their corners on an island a little bit. Do you think that opens up an opportunity for Nebraska to kind of just run the Trey Palmer offense if nothing else is working and stay in the game that way?
Yes. Yep. I'm going to look a little more closely at Illinois' pass defense in the last couple of games today. I just need to watch it again. I've watched a couple of their games, but just go on YouTube and watch a little bit more. Nebraska's got to be aggressive. They're going to have to try to get some plays over the top, and then back off some of those Illinois defenders who get upfield really quickly against a pass rush. They have a formidable pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
Lovie Smith left Ryan Walters good players.
He did.
Lovie is a good coach. And now Lovie is, and I love him because he was a Bears coach, and you love every Bears coach if you're a Bears fan. Lovie is the worst coach in history when it comes to quarterbacks. He has no idea how to handle that. But defensively, he is a great coach and a great recruiter. And so he left Illinois with a lot of good talent that Ryan Walters has developed. And so it's no surprise to me that they're good on defense because that's what Lovie does everywhere he goes. What Illinois has gotten better at on the offensive side of the ball since Bielema got there is having a clear identity. And then what I appreciate about their coordinator on offense is that he has said, okay, we got a great running back. We got this receiver in Isaiah Juice Williams, who can do a bunch of different things. He's kind of a running back, but at a receiver spot, they throw it to him short, he runs. And then they got two receivers, Pat Bryant, and gosh darn, I can't remember the other guy, but he camped at Nebraska way back in the day when Mike Riley was here. Feels like the guy's been around forever. But they got two kind of bigger receivers, and they just kind of throw it up to them. And that's their offense. I mean, they don't try to do a million things. They're good at doing what they do, and so they've gotten better there. But their defense is challenging. Great pass defense. They haven't faced a lot of great pass offenses to this point. Nebraska's is actually the best they've probably faced, and Trey's got to get over the top and try to back those safeties off. Because at some point in the game, Nebraska's got to run the ball. It can't do the 17 minutes of time of possession and expect to win. You just don't win very often when you do that. So you've got to find a way to possess the ball. And then the key is Nebraska will have the crowd. And so that crowd's got to turn it up and when Illinois is on the field and really get crazy and really challenge Illinois to operate in an atmosphere that they're not that used to.
Hey, let's go back to the defensive side of the ball because I mean, you hope you have a fresh Luke Reimer, or as fresh as you can be with everything that he takes on, back after an absence. You don't have his running mate, so you move up Kolarvik. But besides the last 5 games at inside linebacker, what do you think that position looks like in the future? Because I'm looking at the depth, and you're going to have one guy's going to leave who we thought would play a little bit more in a junior college transfer. Hausman has ridden the freshman roller coaster, but there's a lot of guys that they were banking on, just haven't seen the field. What do you think inside linebacker looks like down the road?
Well, they offered a JUCO guy, so that gives you a clue. Whether or not, by the way, I think Barrett Root will be on the radio Thursday night, so that might illuminate a few things. We may hear from him, but that might give you a clue as to what they're thinking about. Hard to know, obviously, with who the coaching staff's going to be, how you're gonna attack it. The depth, obviously, Snodgrass will eventually be back. There's another guy that I think they feel good about in terms of the knowledge of the defense. But you're right. I mean, they haven't hit on some of the players that they had hoped to. Mekhi Bayer has been banged up. Randolph Kapai has never really put on the weight yet that I think got you to where you want him to get you. They Wyndon Huahuli transferred, but he was going to be moved to edge rusher anyway. So I think they just they've had a little bit of a rotation there. Guys, a revolving door, I should say, guys coming in and out. It does look like Hausman's somebody who can fit that role. Boy, it's just really important to get those 2 spots right. Certainly, Wisconsin, which runs a similar style defense, at least when Chenandra was here, really gets that position right. Those middle linebackers are really special players, and Ohio State has a couple right now, and Michigan has a couple, and Rutgers even. So you have to find a way to make sure you get the right players on the field right now. On Saturday, and this is no knock on these 2 guys because I think they've been good players. Luke Reimer and Chris Kolarvik are basically walk-ons. I mean, Chris played at UNI. He was a scholarship player there, but he was an FCS player. Luke was a walk-on who could have played at SDSU. So, you've got to find a way to get some of your scholarship guys to play there over time. And I think they will, but it's going to be kind of up to a new coach, how they want to run the defense. And if you go back to a 4-3, do you have a true 4-3? Do you have a true middle linebacker who could drop 15 yards and run 17 yards sideline to sideline? I don't know if they have that. So we'll see what they do.
Sam, you mentioned the crowd being on Nebraska's side a little bit. If you're Illinois, you're going into a situation you're pretty unfamiliar with. You went from, in the course of just a few weeks, losing to Indiana to being the favorite in the Big Ten West and a more than touchdown favorite in Lincoln, Nebraska. How much of that mental shift do you think determines how the game plays out on Saturday?
That's a great question. I'm not sure Brett Bielema, if I really catalog it in my mind, has ever won at Nebraska. Maybe he has, and I'm just missing that moment.
I believe he lost in 2012 as the Wisconsin head coach. I think that was the last
one.
one.
But as an assistant back in the day,
when he was with Iowa,
I don't know if when he was I think an assistant K State, then he never won here because he had moved to Wisconsin by the time that K State started winning here. Because K State didn't win here in Lincoln until 2003. So I don't think he was with there. So I think he's been in Nebraska many times and never won. So I think that'll be something that he reflects on. Obviously, the 2012 game, Illinois has not played in front of a Memorial Stadium crowd since, really, this is going to sound funny, they really haven't played in front of one since 2016, because the 2018 game was the 3 degrees, smallest crowd in Nebraska in the last decade. It was a small crowd that day, probably 50,000 in the stands. Everybody was chilled to the bone. So the weather on Saturday is going to be 80,000 and loud and worked up. So this Illinois has not really played in a Memorial Stadium crowd since then. COVID, obviously, in 2020. The 2018 crowd was kind of weird. 2016. So I think it'll be challenging for them. I really do. I think they're going to have some moments. They're going to try to lean on running the football. Nebraska's got to make some some decisions early in the game that I think gets Illinois off the field, and they've got to try to get a lead. And if they get up 10-0, which Nebraska seems to never do, but if they did get up 2 scores, then I think you'll see that kind of play out with Illinois, because talk about a clear front runner. I mean, Illinois is way out in front of the Big Ten West. I'm way out in front. All they need to do is win this one and beat Purdue, and they're basically coasting home. So we'll see what they do. I think there's a little bit of pressure on them. They sat around all week and heard how good they are. And this week will be all about how good they are. And so now they got to come to Nebraska. Nebraska's got to find a way to start really fast and kind of pop them in the nose. And if they do that, then I actually like Nebraska's chances to pull an upset. But they've got to Nebraska has to start well. If they don't start well, then I think the game's going to be a little bit of a lost cause.
Yeah. Sam, thank you. We'll see you this weekend.
All right, take care.
Sam McEwen. It feels like one of those games where Illinois has, for Illinois to be successful, Robbie, they have 13 to 17 play drives.
Yep.
You can't get off the field. You think you got them on 3rd down, and they convert a 3rd down and 3, and they chew up a bunch of the clock.
Mm-hmm.
You look up, and they've run 75 plays, and they're only up by a field goal and a touchdown, but it feels like you're down 3 scores. That is Illinois football.
Yep,
right
100%.
now. And that's how I think to win a game where Nebraska will have to keep it in a phone booth, they'll have to hope that they keep it in a phone booth. That's Illinois' winning mojo for me, is that's what it looks like. 13 play drive, a 17 play drive, lots of 3rd down conversions, 8-minute drives around that range. And they play a 27-17 game, but it feels like it's much more of a deficit than that.
Yeah, and playing games in a phone booth is not exactly Nebraska's forte right now. That's probably the least ideal scenario you can probably come up with. Just for the record, I was looking it up because Bielema was at Kansas State in 2003 still.
Yeah.
He was the defensive coordinator, just for the record. So he did win here in 2003. Obviously didn't win here as a head coach at Wisconsin. But
no, they lost because of the uniforms they were wearing that night.
And then they got their revenge in the Big Ten championship game. But when they were wearing normal uniforms, not a coincidence.
Was that to Alphabet uniforms?
It was the weird looking W on the helmet.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you could have an Illinois game. I mean, it's like the Minnesota game last week, right? What was it, 26-14 was the final there? Did not feel like a 12-point game. It felt like Illinois dominated and was in control of that game basically the entire time.
And they beat up Tanner Morgan.
They beat him up. You've got you've got a situation where you might not win by more than 10 or 13 points, but Nebraska never feels like they're in the ball game and they will just physically beat you up. That's something that Illinois was low key, actually really physical under Lovie Smith as well. And you've got a lot of those guys still there. They're just being more physical in a more effective manner in terms of actually winning football games. But that's a really physical team, and it has been for a little while now. That's going to be a really tough task for Nebraska to deal with, where I wouldn't describe Nebraska as an overly physical football team, or as a team that, you really want to, if you're coaching Nebraska, that you really want to get into a fist fight with a team like Illinois. That doesn't sound like a recipe for success for Nebraska.
Brian Christopherson will join us a little bit later. We're going to get in the next hour, inside linebacker, and it's recruiting misses. But everybody is saying, well, you know what? If you're Mickey, would you keep XXX? No one ever says Barrett Ruud. I'm not saying you keep Barrett Ruud. Barrett Ruud is an interesting case study of 5 years as an assistant coach at a place where he's one of the greatest linebackers ever to play here.
And he seems largely forgotten a lot of the time.
Yep. We'll discuss that coming up in the next hour on 1620 The Zone.
For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has been making your game day experience one to remember for 18 years with our award-winning char-buffed wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials. But now your game day just got bigger and better with Oscar's newly upgraded audio-video system. Cheer on your favorite teams this season in front of a 22-foot LED video wall, showing up to 8 games at once, and of course, 40 TVs and massive dual projectors. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Kugler Vision. It has been a great summer, but a new school year. The fall, crisp, cool weather will be upon us before you know it, and it is time for you to transition into crisp, clear vision. Who can help you do that? Of course, the fine folks at Kugler Vision, voted Best of Omaha, #1 LASIK provider in Omaha Magazine. They changed my life in 2018. They can change your life today. Visit their website, schedule a consultation, KuglerVision.com.
With some big-time events coming up, including the Luke Combs concert at the CHI Health Center right here in Omaha, October 28th and 29th. Be sure to check out my friends at TicketsForLess.com. It's not all about sports. It's about shows, and it's also about finding the best tickets at TicketsForLess.com. So whether you want to see the pageantry of Memorial Stadium on a Saturday, catch a game at Arrowhead Stadium, Tickets for Less is your source for the best tickets. Also, without those crazy per ticket fees you'll pay on other sites, trust me, you'll keep going back to TicketsForLess.com. Compare and save the day at TicketsForLess.com.
Fresh food, and not just small portions and high prices. Les Voltaire is anything but. Come visit Omaha's own little corner of France for mouth-watering appetizers and entrees, plus melt-in-your-mouth desserts. Dinner with friends, special occasions, entertaining clients, or just chilling with French wines and craft cocktails with your favorite someone. Les Voltaire will make you feel right at home, just like they've been doing for more than 2 decades. Les Voltaire just off 156th and West Dodge Road in the Pepperwood Village, and at lesvoltaireomaha.com.
Dust. It's in the living room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. It's also in your lungs. Let's fix that, shall we? Duct Defense Midwest offers a comprehensive system that cleans, disinfects, filters, and purifies the air. They'll make your home healthier and improve the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com right now for a special air duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. cleanairradio.com.
Goodwill is opening a new location very soon, and they need your donations to continue the Goodwill mission. The new Goodwill location is at 35th and L Streets, and they can use clothing, furniture, household items, and a whole lot more to fill their 10,000 square foot space. Drop off your donations to any of the 14 other Goodwill locations in the metro, and Goodwill will make sure they get to the new location. Then when it opens, come and visit the new Goodwill at 35th and L Streets in the Stockyard Plaza.
Hey, Omaha Metro, the Salvation Army needs more seasonal volunteers. Christmas Assistance Sign-Up runs November 1st through 11th, and we need people to help local families in need register for all the holiday support programs that we offer, like Toyland. Volunteer for 1 shift, 1 day, or more. However much time you can give, it'll make a big difference. Sign up to volunteer for the Salvation Army right now. Just call 402-898-6000. That's 402-898-6000.
1620 The Zone.
Okay, so Bielema has a big personality, and this is a place. There's 2 stories that I recall talking to Coach Bielema. One, when he was out of the game after Arkansas, he stopped in Lincoln. This was in the area on the interstate, stopped in Lincoln, checked out the stadium.
Yeah.
But there's another one. So the 2012 Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. So Nebraska makes it there, and they have this press conference on a Friday afternoon with the 2 head coaches, and they got the trophy. And it's one of the rare times that Bo shows up in a suit. Bo would show up in a suit for Big Ten Media Days. But outside of that, it was very rare to see him in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
So they tell him that he, this is going to be, it's the pregame press conference, so you got to wear a suit. So Bo walks in with the mock turtleneck, and he's got a sport coat on. Bielema comes in a sweatsuit and flip-flops. So, Bo was pissed because he thought he was set up because he would have just come in casual clothes, like maybe even a Nebraska football sweatsuit.
A hoodie and khakis.
Yeah. They take a picture together around the trophy. And, Bielema is like, kind of like personal jabs of Bo, talking about, both being Hawkeyes and stuff like that. Bielema leaves. And Bo, there's like 6 or 7 of us that are standing around. And Bo goes in this tirade about Bielema. That's disrespectful. He's wearing flip-flops. That guy's wearing flip-flops to a press conference. He goes, what kind of guy does that? And I thought, oh, man. But it was the difference. One guy looked so uncomfortable being in a suit, and the other guy's wearing a tracksuit with flip-flops. And because I looked down to see what shoe, he had flip-flops on.
Yeah.
I didn't cut his nails.
Come on, Brett. At least you got that pedicure money. Go and get those. You can go get those toes taken care of, my guy.
Not only is Bo go to a press conference and the guy he's coaching against wears a sweatsuit, the next day he starts Kurt Phillips and beats the hell out of his team. And talk about a bad weekend in Indianapolis. Oh, he was livid. He was like, "What guy does that?" And it wasn't even. If I remember, it didn't even have like a Wisconsin logo.
It was just like a random sweatsuit.
Like
something he bought at Kohl's.
A random sweatsuit.
That's even better. If it's like branded, you can kind of be like, that's
I was thinking
fine.
it was team issued, some of that free stuff we were talking
At the very least, rocking the Badgers gear. I will say Bielema gives off the impression of a guy that is going to be himself regardless of what other people want him to be.
Yeah.
And in the past, that's been a crapshoot, whether that's a good or a bad thing. But in general, it seems to work out for him. At least, Arkansas wasn't great, but in the Big Ten, it seems to fit him just fine.
Yeah.
Maybe Bo should have worn a sweatsuit. They would have done better in the championship game.
He's like, I couldn't have worn a sweatsuit. Keith. We're back with more of Gary and Friends with Ravi today at 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden AC Heating, Plumbing, and More Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect some significant slowdown from 108th all the way to 90th along L Street. Then on Center, be prepared for some significant delays from 192nd to 168th. And along Highway 370, be prepared for just a little bit of slowdown near Gold Coast Road. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Come on, when was the last time you had your Fernando's fix? It doesn't get any better than lunch, dinner, carry-out, even catering from Fernando's. Get your Fernando's fix. 114th and Dodge, 75th and Pacific, and FernandosOmaha.com.
Start NFL Week 8 off right with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, you'll get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit. This week, it's Bucks and Ravens. Are you like me and you think the Bucks are a horrible vibes team? The Ravens haven't been much better lately either. Maybe look toward an under with a lot of defense going on Thursday night. Or you could look at individual players, Brady, Jackson, and you could parlay them together there for a same game parlay. Build your own or choose from one of the popular SGPs pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. However you want to play, you can bet the NFL on Thursday night with a no-sweat same game parlay. Sign up with promo code HAPPER if you don't already have an account. If you do, you are ready to roll. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued as knowledge-eligible free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $5. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
MD West One's team of neurosurgical spine specialists is the largest and most advanced in the greater Omaha metro. MD West One has been voted the #1 private practice and #1 in neurosurgery and spine by Best of Omaha year after year. They can help if you're suffering from recurring neck and back pain, weakness or numbness in your extremities, sciatica pain, or any other recurring issues stemming from your neck or back. Go to MDWest1.com to meet the spine team at MD West One.
Buy your next vehicle your way from anywhere with Woodhouse. Start your journey online at woodhouse.com. Easily shop all new and pre-owned inventory. Explore payment options and apply for financing. Ready to purchase? Schedule your new vehicle for pickup from the dealership or have it delivered to your driveway. Need a little extra help in determining your perfect vehicle? Our knowledgeable and local dealerships can guide you to the vehicle that best matches your needs. Experience car buying your way with Woodhouse, a trusted auto partner since 1975.
Greg Gonzalez retired as a tenured and decorated Deputy Chief of Police at the Omaha Police Department. Greg has over 28 years of experience and successfully climbed the ranks from street cop to Deputy Police Chief in charge of hundreds of police officers. Greg holds a bachelor's in criminal justice and a master's in public administration. Greg has the education, executive leadership, and budget experience needed to manage the Douglas County Sheriff's Department. Greg has helped recruit and hire over 450 officers. Greg Gonzalez will hire and train deputies to patrol your neighborhoods and keep you safe at night. Greg is the only candidate who has the executive leadership experience at the ranks of deputy chief, captain, and lieutenant. His opponent does not have the temperament, education, rank, budget, or supervisory experience needed to successfully lead the entire Douglas County Sheriff's Department. Hire the most qualified person for the job. Vote Greg Gonzalez for Douglas County Sheriff.
Hi, I'm Greg Gonzalez, and I approve this message. Paid for by Greg for Sheriff.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
Halftime brought to you by Hart Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off 680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's. It's Hart Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
All right, this will age people and remember this. Remember, everything's tied into Nebraska football. So 25 years ago today, I was in Lawrence, Kansas when this started, had trouble getting home. 25 years ago today was the famous 97 snowstorm.
Oh, yeah, the October snowstorm.
Where the leaves were still on the trees.
And so all the trees came down.
And it was heavy, wet snow.
Yeah.
Nebraska's playing in Lawrence against KU, and it isn't snowing in Lawrence. But
the lights went out.
Yeah, the lights went out during the second quarter. And so people had trouble, and then trying to get back to Lincoln or Nebraska was a pain. That was 25 years ago. It began today. It was a 2-day snowstorm that was a pain in the...
Yeah, Denver had like 20 inches out of that storm.
That's where the first time I remember thunder snow being a thing.
Yes.
There was lightning, and I was like, I was a kid, so I was like, Mom, what's happening? Like, why is there lightning and snow? Are we dying? And she's like, no, I'm sure it'll be fine. But it was one of those, like, I'm sure it'll be fine, but I have no idea what the hell's going on, son, answers. But it was super weird. So randomly, like, as the storm was rolling in, literally within an hour, every leaf on the trees in our yard dropped.
Wow.
Like, every leaf was gone within an hour. So we didn't lose any trees, thankfully. I know like the rest of the city did, but it was so bizarre. I was like, what's going on with the trees here? And then you've got lightning and snow. I thought the world was ending because I was like 8 at the time. And so, yeah, it was bizarre. One of the most bizarre weather experiences of my life.
Gary, you know this because obviously you have a meteorology background in school.
Thank you.
When you get thunder snow, that's a bad sign. That means you're in for a bad storm. It's going to come down.
Well, that was also in the 90s where you had Mike Johans, who was the mayor of Lincoln at the time, canceled Halloween. There was another October snowstorm.
Yeah. I think they canceled Halloween in Omaha, too. I think we were off school for a full week.
Was that 91? Was that the same weekend before?
I think my wife told me about
Nebraska
that.
and Colorado played the tie game out in Boulder.
We didn't have that issue in San Antonio. Some years it was too hot.
Oh, I'm from Texas, man. Never snows on
I don't want to
Halloween.
wear shorts.
We had to, when I was,
That's not part of the costume.
we had to figure out what
Okay,
costumes we could wear that we would not get like hypothermia trick-or-treating, because you didn't want to wear a coat over your costume because then it looks stupid. So you had to figure out like a warm weather costume that still looked good. Terrible.
I think it'll be, I'm sure the college kids will be dressed in costume this weekend.
You think so at the game?
It seems like
yeah.
Halloween has snuck up on us.
It has.
I mean, you don't see, as I remember like in late August, there were Halloween candy, and then it's here, it's Monday, and now it's all Christmas or
I've only seen like 3 Spirit Halloween stores pop up. I feel like
Yeah.
we're about 10 under quota so
Yeah,
far.
what's going on?
I don't know.
They usually like you get to September, they're everywhere.
Yeah, every abandoned storefront is a Spirit Hall. I wonder if there's a supply chain issue with Halloween costumes.
What's going on, America? That might be the case.
Just don't have enough inventory.
What is the popular costume this year?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not up to date on these things like I used to be.
Yeah, some kids call in, they can tell
I
us.
do have my full abundance of condiments if you're coming to my house.
You're just gonna hand out like ketchup packets?
Well, I mean the Chick-fil-A.
Ooh, Chick-fil-A sauce?
They love that
And then the
sauce.
ketchup where you squeeze it, you can dip the fry. Yeah. Extremely popular.
Interesting.
And I ruin kids because they're like, oh. And then I have the bucket of candy. But I like the number of kids that come to where I do Halloween is dwindled.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of kids in my neighborhood, which my wife is very disappointed about. She loves Halloween. She wants to like hand out all the candy.
Does she
or
dress
whatever.
up?
Yeah,
for
usually
people to come to the door?
she'll like dress up, hand out candy, but there's a lot of retirees in my neighborhood.
Okay,
So,
so they do not have Silver Slugger 2 in the afternoon trick or treating.
no, you get a yeah, it's only hard candies for those folks. It's Werther's.
You know what? They should. I bet they do at some of these retirement villages.
Oh, I bet they do. Yeah.
Some of these bougie retirement villages.
Yeah.
They've got to have like, Silver Slugger trick or treating, and they find candy from your youth.
Yeah.
The little strawberries with the,
Get the
stuff
Chico
in the middle.
Get the Chico sticks.
Yes.
Some of those some of the candy cigarettes.
Yeah. I mean, my grandpa ain't eating dots. I mean, that'd be an issue.
No shock tarts for that guy.
No, we'll go the old school candy. Hey, Gramps, this is when you were trick or treating. Remember this candy? Where did you find it? Don't worry.
Found it in a coat pocket from when I was a child.
You gave it to me.
All right, Brian Christopherson's coming up in less than an hour. So let me ask both of you. You're both into broadcasting. What current broadcasters, when you hear their voice on an event, sports broadcasters, television, national, when you hear their voice on a game or an event, you consider it a big deal. That must be a big game or a big event.
Oh. So this is different than people that I like, right? Just like I hear them.
Yeah, just a voice that you hear that you know.
Like when
that
we were
probably-
kids,
yeah.
Keith Jackson meant,
Yeah.
it's a big game.
So that's a big game or an event.
I mean, so Jim Nance is one of them. Jim Nance does a lot of really, really big events. He's probably one of them. I still think that way with Joe Buck.
Okay, so those are, I'm with you. Those are the two that immediately came to mind.
Yeah.
But in the national sports broadcasting business, we've had a changing of the guard because yesterday it was reported and now has been confirmed, Andrew Marchand from the New York Post, that Jim Nance, the national championship game for college basketball in his hometown of Houston this year will be his last.
Goodbye, friend.
And he is going to hand off his tie to Ian Eagle. So Bird will get to now become the voice
of the Final Four.
And he's a familiar voice.
It's a great choice.
Yeah. He's a familiar voice to, if you watch CBS, even on Westwood, people know Ian Eagle.
He and Raftery worked together for years.
But, one of the things that's also being discussed this week is the World Series is the first time for Joe Davis. Now, I think Joe Davis does a great job. If you listen to the Dodgers, I think him and Oral Hershiser make a really good pair.
He nailed it Sunday, too.
Yeah. And Joe's voice is familiar because he's doing more national stuff. But it's still, Joe Buck was doing the World Series. The World Series still can be a big thing because Joe Buck is attached to it.
Yeah.
The Masters are a big deal because of Nance's voice. You know that on Sundays when Nance and you have to have Romo are doing a game, it's got to be one of the bigger games.
A big deal. Yeah.
That's where Fox is kind of like I say this with Monday Night Football. Now that Buck and Aikman are together, they make Monday Night Football feel different.
It feels like a bigger deal.
Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, it feels like not a big game yet.
It's not a bad crew.
No, but it just the voice.
But it doesn't strike you the same way that a Joe Buck and a Troy Aikman do.
Yeah. Which is too bad because I like Kevin. He's a good dude.
Yeah, they're really it's a solid crew. It just doesn't have the same big game feel.
And around here we get Cougs.
Yeah.
But this is CBS deal. He's Fox, which has got a great deal. When you hear him on the radio, it's usually a big event.
Yeah, if it's on radio, it's only big events that he does now.
But
yeah.
it's kind of interesting in that world that if we're just going with Joe Buck and Jim Nantz, it is truly like the changing of the guard for two of the larger events in this country in the World Series, and then after this year, the Final Four.
Well, I think you used to put Al Michaels in that category as well. I don't think of Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football as a big event, and as he's aged, it's felt less and less like that. But there was a time when I was younger where if Al Michaels was on a call, it felt like a really big deal.
Al, Frank, and Dan.
The Jim Nantz thing is, it feels like a big deal. He's gotten progressively cheesier as he's aged, which I struggle with a little bit. I should always know every Final Four and every championship game, there's going to be some horrible pun about the team that wins nickname. I will never forgive him for a UConn Huskies every dog has its day. Will never forgive him for that. You know, it's funny.
Kentucky's top cats.
So he actually was the commencement speaker at my sister's graduation.
Really?
Yeah, she graduated from University of Houston.
Okay.
And he was the commencement speaker for this like huge, because University of Houston's an enormous school.
Yeah.
This huge graduation. I don't remember a thing he said. I was just like, "Hey, that's Jim Nantz." And then I immediately went to my Game Boy. So that was it didn't really like stick with me a lot of the way a lot of commencement speeches do, but yeah, that's my little Jim Nantz story.
So,
do you remember what you were playing?
Yeah, it was called Super Striker. It was a little asteroid space game.
So Nantz is definitely, and one of the reasons why he's stepping away from the basketball is to be with the family.
Yeah.
So he doesn't live on Pebble Beach anymore. He lives in Nashville, where everybody is moving to now.
Apparently,
once
yeah.
Nashville gets, hey, first of all, I could live in Nashville, but Nashville is a place to go to have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get in trouble in Nashville. It's Nash Vegas.
I'll say it's East Vegas.
So,
yeah.
but watch this. Nashville could be in line for a Major League Baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they're going to get a dome stadium, you
Super Bowl.
watch before long, Super Bowl possibility, college football national championship possibility, Final Four possibility in Nashville. I mean, Nashville is the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Do we say this to Jim Nantz? 63, and he has an 8 and a 6-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I mean, he's got enough. I was going to say that sounds miserable, but he's got enough money to like have a nanny in the whole thing, so it's probably fine. But if you're like a normal guy at 63 and you have an 8 and a 6-year-old, like that's tough.
You're not needing the Brookside.
Well, maybe you already got the Brookside. That's how you got the 8 and the 6-year-old. But no, I just mean it's like from an energy standpoint, if you don't have like help to take care of the kids at that age, that's a tough look. I'm sure Jim Nantz has the finances to get whatever help he needs.
I think that's going to be me.
But, yeah,
I think I'm going to be in like my mid 50s, late 50s, and I'm going to have like an infant.
Yeah,
I have that feeling.
Are you excited about that?
I got to have somebody that participates with me. But I'm like, good on Jim Nantz, man.
Could be a contest.
You got a 6 and an 8-year-old, and you're 63.
Yes, good for you if that's what you want, Jim.
I would imagine it wasn't like a mistake.
You never know; things happen.
That seemed to be planned. If you're
Uncle
that age and you got a new wife, you're planning to have a family.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Don't understand it at all.
I just want to know: will there be a official handing off of the tie?
You know, maybe he
like at a CBS like a executive meeting. Will Jim stand up and say thank you to everybody? Because he's got a good gig. He's still going to be involved. He's like going to do the trophy presentation.
Oh, okay. He's just not calling the games.
So does he give he usually gives his tie to a player. Does he give his tie to Ian Eagle?
Does he make a really horrible pun about Ian Eagle?
That is really sticking with
It's your turn to fly.
Oh, those are difficult, like in the moment to come up with.
Oh, he doesn't do it in the moment, though. I've heard him do interviews. He like pre-plans them, and he has one for each team that's playing in the final or in the Final Four or whatever. He pre-plans these things, and you can tell they're pre-planned. And the worst part is, if they're pre-planned, come up with a better one. Like, if it was in the moment, I could forgive it. But I have literally heard him do interviews telling me, it's like, yeah, you got to come up with you kind of go over in your head what you're going to say, depending on, okay, if it's a blowout and this team wins, or it's a close one and this team wins. And I mean, I think his best call was probably the Villanova, North Carolina game, where it's just spontaneous and it's crazy and he's just actually calling a basketball game and he doesn't have so long to think of. It's like an 8-10 point game. He has so long to think about if he wants to change what pun he wants to use. If they weren't pre-planned, I could forgive him. But I know for a fact he writes them down because he's talked about it. It's terrible.
And you can even tell when he says them. It's like, oh, that was planned.
I feel like he almost is doing it to troll us at this point.
Yes.
So you did not like You Can Leave It to the Cleaves?
No.
When Michigan State won in 2000 with Mateen Cleaves?
That was a good
Not for me.
Well, you missed the other one about UConn earlier.
What was that?
Sometimes when you think you can't, you can, and UConn has won the national championship.
Oh,
these get better, folks.
No, they don't.
That's right. There is a list. I forgot that.
Let's see. Yeah, I can't find another one. Good one.
The UConn one's really bad. I'm surprised I didn't remember that one. I think I try and block it out.
Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
This one you'll like. 05 championship with North Carolina.
Uh-oh.
It began in March, ended in April, and belongs to May.
No.
Remember Sean May?
Yep.
Yeah, of course I remember
Big
Sean
game,
May.
championship game.
That one's actually not that bad. That one's okay.
So there's also in the same moment, there's a new dean in college basketball.
That one's terrible.
Because that was Roy Williams.
I will take the May one. That one's actually not bad. That's fairly clever. But the dean, I passing on dean.
Okay, so just to dig at you. Let's say Creighton wins the national championship this year. Nance's last Final Four. He's got to have a cheesy Creighton line. What would it be?
Well, see, I'm doing this in the moment, not pre-planned like Jim Nance does. If Kaluma's like the player of the tournament, it could be like Creighton with a work of art.
Okay, so
that's not bad.
Hey, now that is not unimaginable.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
and you'd be fine with that.
I'm not going to I'm not going to care what Jim Nance says if Creighton's winning a national championship. I think if you're the team winning, you care a lot less. As just a general observer of college basketball, it bothers me a lot.
Okay. All right.
If Ian Eagle carries on the tradition, I'm going to lose it.
Well, you have to.
He does not have to. That's not in the contract. I'm almost positive.
Maybe that is part of the contract.
It began in March, ended in April, and belongs to May.
Watch.
That's a great line.
That one's not bad. I like that one.
I can't believe
that one's
I forgot that.
That one's pretty good. The dean of college basketball, dumb. The May one is pretty solid because he was like the player, the most outstanding player, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a good one. I'll give him credit on the belongs to May. That's what Jim Nance is going to do since he's still going to be there. He's going to write these out. He's going to for Ian Eagle. He's going to have like a 5x7, like flashcard for him. He's going to be like sticking them up in front of his eyes. Hey, say this one. Do this one now. Hey, I wrote this one during the break. He's not going to be able to help himself.
Or he tweets them.
Ian Eagle's going to have to slap him to get him away.
I don't know. Is Jim Nance on Twitter?
I don't know.
Maybe that'll be part of retirement.
I don't believe a real Jim Nance account exists.
Big
He doesn't strike me as a guy. Yeah, there's a lot of. He's not on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I think you're good there.
I don't follow him I wouldn't follow him even if he was on Twitter. So, because if his live broadcasting is that cheesy, I can't imagine that his tweets would be any better.
So it's safe to say that when he was here for the regional Simeon final with him and Grant Hill and Tracy Wolfson, that you were not going up and saying hello.
No, I didn't request an autograph or anything like that.
Well, you're not an NFL official.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different deal.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes, that's a bad look.
We'll touch on that. That was that happened to the Bucks Panthers game the other day. Brian Christopherson will join us in the next hour. But when we come back, we're going to shift gears here. We're talking a little football. The future of Barrett Ruud. He's a guy that doesn't get talked about very much, but we were talking with Sam about inside linebacker for the rest of this season without Nick Henrich and what it looks like down the road for guys that are there but haven't played. There's a lot of other positions that have been well stocked in the recruiting process.
Mm-hmm.
Inside linebacker, not so much.
Little bear.
There hasn't been any more Luke Reimers to move forward and take a lot of snaps away. So we'll get into that when we come back. There's Ravi Jim here as well. I'm Gary on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
I'm going to bury a take in here. S'mores are overrated.
Whoa! What kind of a monster are you? Explain yourself. Show your work, Connor.
Melted marshmallow, guys?
Delicious.
No. Not really. Not really at all. Why? Marshmallow is not a good thing. Marshmallows aren't good.
The Connor Happer Show, weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Bellevue Berry and Pumpkin Ranch from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
After a chilly start, expect cool and breezy conditions for your Tuesday. We'll see plenty of sunshine, but north to northwest winds will pick up late in the morning, gusts up to 25 miles per hour through the afternoon. Highs around 59. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Dingman's Collision Center, 4 collision center locations serving you in Omaha and Papillion.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and More Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect some pretty significant slowdown along eastbound 680 near Pacific Street. Then on Dodge, be prepared for some significant delays from 94th all the way to 77th. And along 204th, be prepared for some major slowdowns from Harrison to Pacific. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza.
Enjoy Romeo's Grande Pizza and Taco Combo. 1 large 2-topping pizza, 4 soft shell tacos, chips, and queso dip for only $29.99. Only at Romeo's. Carry out only.
Romeo's Mexican Food and Pizza.
Not your typical restaurant.
Dear gas prices, go take a hike. Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. The Toyota hybrid lineup brings efficiency with power and savings with style. Not to mention top tech to help keep you connected. Plush premium interiors and the most advanced Toyota safety features. So, now you know who you're talking to. Toyota, the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. With a hybrid or electric vehicle built for every driver. Seriously, dear gas prices? Do you really think you can stand in our way? Think again. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimate, CY 2000 through 2021 sales. See your independently owned Omaha Metro Toyota dealers. Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Corwin Toyota of Bellevue.
Get ready for the scare of a lifetime, because Madness Haunted House is back once again. Seek the thrills and horror at the new location at Pioneer Trail Orchard. Over 2 acres and 30 minutes of quality screams and fear. Madness Haunted House, the haunt that wouldn't die.
Dust. It's in the living room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. It's also in your lungs. Let's fix that, shall we? Duct Defense Midwest offers a comprehensive system that cleans, disinfects, filters, and purifies the air. They'll make your home healthier and improve the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com right now for a special air duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. cleanairradio.com.
Gain presents a tale of longing and long-lasting scent. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer-lasting scent.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
With some big-time events coming up, including the Luke Combs concert at the CHI Health Center right here in Omaha, October 28th and 29th. Be sure to check out my friends at ticketsforless.com. It's not all about sports. It's about shows, and it's also about finding the best tickets at ticketsforless.com. So whether you want to see the pageantry of Memorial Stadium on a Saturday, catch a game at Arrowhead Stadium, Tickets for Less is your source for the best tickets, also without those crazy per-ticket fees you'll pay on other sites. Trust me, you'll keep going back to ticketsforless.com. Compare and save today at ticketsforless.com.
Join Genesis Health Clubs for 36 cents for their 36th anniversary and get the rest of the year free.
It's a first look at the Creighton Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are back in exhibition action as they take on Drury. Sunday coverage begins at 5 p.m. with Ravi Lula, with tip-off at 6. The Blue Jays are back on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
1620 The Zone.
All right, here in the Equitable Bank inbox, Wyatt goes with Asian Wyatt. Jimmy, remember that Asian Wyatt?
Oh, yeah, they just had the baby.
Yes. If you win a ton, you must pray a ton. Congratulations to Creighton.
We had one. Mustache Adam says, no jaywalking tonight. The Jays are national champions. And I tweaked it a little bit. I said, there'll be jaywalking in Omaha tonight.
At
Creighton's your
72nd
national
and
champion.
Dodge.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have all jinxed this now?
You started it.
No, what do you mean I started? I just asked a question. Now you guys are all in. You're getting excited.
No, you said to come up with the
We're excited for the line.
hypothetical tagline if it were to happen. So we came up with
it'd be
hypothetical.
something. I mean, Nance's last call, Creighton's first national championship.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Mac retires, rides off to Phoenix.
You're just writing all sorts of storylines over here, huh?
I mean,
you breaking some news we don't know about?
No. Everything is changing in the guard. Everybody's moving on. Terry writes in, hi, guys. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
My buddy and I went to that KU game. So 25 years ago today was the start of the major October snowstorm around here.
Three-fourths of the fans were Nebraska.
I was driving my his 3-month-old car. On the way home, it rained hard until we hit the Iowa border where it turned into big flakes. The snow was coming down so hard you couldn't see in front of you. I remember thinking I'm driving too fast. I looked down and I was going 15 miles an hour. It takes a long time to drive 60 miles at 15 miles an hour. Kept waiting to see the power plant south of Council Bluffs as I knew we were close to home. Had to dodge all the downed trees in Omaha to drop off my buddy. Was never so glad to be home with all 4 fenders.
That sounds frightening.
By the way, that 97 game in Lawrence was a terrible game. Like Nebraska was
35 to
Nebraska
nothing.
was flat, and they were like, okay, let's just get this game over. The weather was miserable, and all you heard about was how like you were not going to be able to get home.
Yeah.
And back then, Nebraska would bus down to Lawrence, and then they would go over to Topeka and fly back home.
Oh, okay.
But I think did they fly? I don't remember because that's a trip I didn't travel with the team. I think they bus back on that trip.
What's the logic of busing down and flying back?
You'll have to talk to T.O.
Not sure he's.
But that was a popular thing. They would bus. So
that's
so they bus to Ames. You'd bus to Manhattan, but to Lawrence you would bus down on Friday.
Yeah.
And then you would take the bus and go to Topeka and get on the team plane or the charter and fly home.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Probably like a 20-minute flight, 30-minute at tops.
I'll say you never even reach altitude there. Just boop, boop.
I don't
right
know
back
that.
down.
You know what? I never really asked. It just was something they did.
Yeah, that
I don't ever remember going bus down, bus back.
It doesn't make
was
like a-
bus down and then bus to Topeka, get on the plane, fly home.
We did fly from Des Moines last year after playing at Iowa State, and that was about a 35-minute flight. So,
just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to
and we bus there.
go one way and then
You know
one
what?
the other way back.
When you're winning, Ravi, you really don't ask any questions.
I mean, I'm asking questions. Doesn't make any sense, man.
Well, in 2022, it probably doesn't. But in
What about your carbon footprint, T.O.? Somebody doesn't care about the environment. I see how it is.
I mean, there were kids that was the first time they ever got to see Topeka.
Yeah, it's something you can't miss.
Because when teams play in Lawrence, you could fly into MCI, but most people fly into Topeka.
I get it's not the It's not the Topeka
When I was
part
down
I
there,
have an
when I was
issue
down
with.
there a couple weeks ago, that's what the TCU people were saying is we flew into Topeka.
That's
I
all
mean,
we'd ever fly out of.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the Topeka part. It's the why go one way down and the other way back.
So that you could get home and get in your own bed and get some sleep.
So
or after you go and drug.
So somebody just drives the bus back empty?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like the Deadhead bus.
Okay.
Yeah, that happens a lot where they'll drive buses that are empty. So you'll see this. So here you go. I'm going to give you the world of travel, like with sports teams.
Okay.
Who was it? It was a recent Big Ten team that had a fly into Lincoln, but their team buses that are all logoed up, drove to Lincoln, picked up the team at the Lincoln airport, and so they were in their regular buses while they were in Lincoln, and then they drove them back to the airport. They got on the plane, and then the buses drove back to.
Was it like their equipment buses and stuff, though?
No, it was the regular charter buses.
Yeah, Texas Tech would do that in Lawrence. That's a long drive.
So Texas Tech for the college, Texas Tech for the College World Series, because they're kind of superstitious and they have a bus driver.
Yeah,
they fly to the College World Series, but their bus driver
drives an empty all the way
up from Lubbock.
So here's my question. Okay, you want your bus driver, you want your buses, whatever. Why go down with the buses to Lawrence? Why not just fly, drive the empties there and back? Like that's the part I'm having trouble with.
I think they were just trying to save some money and time.
But only half the money? You can't. I
think it was they wanted guys to get home after the game, get sleep in their own bed, or be able to, after they drub KU, be able to have plenty of party time on O Street. I honestly don't know the reason. I never really questioned it. I never really thought twice of it because they've been doing that for so long.
It sounds goofy though, right? Like it's a weird.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I don't know I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, everywhere else you bust to Manhattan, you bust to Ames.
It's not
you didn't bust to Columbia. You flew to Columbia.
Yeah, Columbia's a little further. It's not like Manhattan, or it's not like Lawrence is that much further than Manhattan, right?
No, it was about what do you got, Jimmy? About 45 minutes?
Yeah.
So what, the extra 45 minutes requires a flight home?
The food was pretty good on the flight home.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure the food would have been good on the bus too.
Oh, eating on the bus. That was always an adventure.
I just don't get it.
And call T.O.
T.O., if you're listening, call in and explain.
But you saw it helped, because usually after Nebraska beat KU, they would be okay for the next week as well. So it really helped them with their recovery.
Sure. Yeah, I got to get home, get back to the
A lot of guys got in the game.
Get back to the training table.
Now, I don't know. My last year traveling was, 2003? So I don't know if they did it after that.
Okay.
It just was a Lawrence thing.
I don't know. It just sits with me weird.
Maybe the airplane needed some hours.
Gotta get
some reps.
Get some flight hours in.
Yeah.
Got to make sure that the pilot doesn't get overtime this month. Like what's
Bob writes in another Jim Nance Creighton line. Ryan Kalkbrenner, the Blue Jays Kalk block the Spartans to win their first national championship.
There's our winner. Right off into that sunset to Nashville.
That only works if Kalkbrenner blocks a potential game-winning shot. Creighton has Kalk blocked the whoever.
And Raftery could get away with it. Oh, Bill.
See, what we're also doing here is for the page editors. Well, heck, they're not even in Omaha, I don't think. We're getting their headlines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I will request a commission on that, just so you know.
So the discussion about inside linebackers. Luke Reimer is back. We should hear more on that today. Nick Henrich is out for the year. Unfortunately, the Purdue turf monster got another Nebraska football player. So Chris Kolarvik, who began the year at nickel, moves back in to play next to Reimer. You'd love to have Reimer on a pitch count to preserve him for the next 5 games, but I don't think Luke Reimer is really interested in a pitch count. So he's going to be back. He should be fresh, and he's going to go 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
And he looks completely different with Bill Bush as the defensive coordinator. He looks more explosive. I don't know what happened. He's not thinking as much. He's making plays. But he didn't have a lot of friends to help him. And moving forward into the future, you do get your 2 primary starters back at inside linebacker, barring any movement. But that position for the new inside linebacker coach and new head coach will be a very interesting who's going to be with you, because Hausman has played a lot as a true freshman and will probably play a little bit more, but he's ridden the roller coaster of, man, I'm learning on the fly, playing as a true freshman. Maga Clements probably hasn't played as much as we thought he would when he was recruited to Nebraska. I thought he would be a starter. He has not.
Agreed. Yeah.
Garrett Snodgrass has battled some injuries, has been primarily special teams. You've got then a trio of redshirt freshmen at inside linebacker, Seth Malcolm, the 8-man player. Kapai, who can't put on weight, but he was a guy that watching him in Sioux Falls, I thought, man, he could be a dude, but they're going to have to work on his body. And Gabor has not played because of injuries as well. So that room is really, really thin. It's also a position where whatever happens after the 22, what do you think happens with the coaching career of Barrett Ruud, who, coming back to his alma mater as one of the best linebackers ever to play here, was put in a position where he didn't have a lot of coaching experience, but back here he was brought with everybody else, and he was handed a full-time job. There have been recruiting misses. There probably should be more scholarships that were out to inside linebackers. What happens to Barrett Ruud post-23 will be fascinating to me to see where he goes, if he elects to stay in coaching or goes to do something else. Because you don't run into anybody that says, okay, if Mickey is the head coach, well, he's got to keep Applewhite Bush.
Becton.
There's no Barrett Ruud. And it's, to me, it's not the fault of Barrett. They brought him back, said, hey, coach this position. You haven't had a lot of coaching experience. And also, you're going to be like the primary guy to recruit in state. And it's been an interesting 5 years for Barrett, who has been relatively, doesn't say a lot, doesn't, as an assistant, he's not talking to the media. Sam alluded to that he's supposed to be on the radio on Thursday. I just wonder what his football life looks like after this year.
Yeah, I don't know, because he's been really, really quiet, and not just in terms of speaking. He's kind of just flown under the radar a lot of this time. Obviously, there's some depth issues, as you just lined out. There's been some talent issues there as well. Maybe haven't gotten the production out of that group that you would want. And you would think he'd probably have another opportunity somewhere, maybe a smaller school if he wanted it. But I don't know. I just don't. It's really hard to get a read on what he wants to do. Like, he doesn't come off to me as necessarily a coaching lifer, but I also have no basis for that because we never hear him speak, and we don't really know how he's felt about his time as a coach, or how he's felt about his time back at Nebraska, or if he would want to continue coaching outside of his alma mater. Like, we don't know any of these things about him. We only know that there's been mixed results on the field. Some of the guys have looked okay this year, and in particular with the injuries and everything, it's been a bit of a struggle. As you mentioned, hasn't really done the job you would hope for in recruiting and getting some depth and talent at the position. So, I would guess, just from being a position coach at a Big Ten school, if he wanted other opportunities at smaller places to kind of get some reps in as a coach and get some practice recruiting, and he could have that chance to be a coach long term. But I don't know. He doesn't strike me as I want to grind it out at a Group of 5 school coaching lifer type.
And I don't think it's just hey, he's a former Husker. Of like all the assistants that have rolled through here for 5 years, there's almost all of them get some moment of run and discussion. Barrett really hasn't. Now, when you talk to his in-state recruiting, and again, I think he probably, the experience level was put in right off the bat, a difficult position.
Tough spot, yeah.
Not ready to be a Power 5 position coach. You talk to local high school coaches, and Barrett leading before Mickey came along and he got some help, leading the push in the metro area, for example. Great guy, love talking football with him, very unassuming, but doesn't have a presence when he walks in the door. Don't have anything bad to say about him, but when he comes in my office, it's not like, wow, that's... People don't gravitate. Man, that's Barrett. That's a damn good college linebacker and an NFL linebacker sitting in here. I was thinking about what Reimer's role will look like this weekend, and thinking of his position. That, man, if you have to go to a 4th linebacker, an inside linebacker, who would it be? And then, is that a fault of Barrett Ruud, or is that a fault of the way the program has been put together in terms of offers, pursuit, and what you've been given? I don't know. It's just it's a strange part for a guy that's going to be on this staff for 5 years, and you wonder, will somebody pick him up when this year is over?
And again, does he want to be picked up when this year is over? He's sort of, as you mentioned, it doesn't really feel like he's left any sort of footprint on his time here. You said, and right, I think you're right here, just about every other assistant has had some moment where we talked about them a lot. Whether it's Sean Beckton, we all seem to think he's a really good tight ends coach, puts together a nice room, has put together some talent that we like. I know injuries have been an issue there, but I think everyone agrees for the most part, like that's a pretty nice group he's put together there, and we think he coaches them up pretty well. Travis Fisher in terms of the D-backs. Obviously you have Mario Verduzco was a very popular name with the quarterbacks and everything. There's every single position coach and obviously coordinators as well has had some sort of run and been a topic of conversation. And half the time I forget Barrett Ruud's on staff. We just never talk about him. We almost never think about him. And it's weird to have been here this long and not had any noticeable impact in terms of publicly facing either results or recruiting successes, and I don't know that he gets, I think a lot of people blamed Frost for the in-state recruiting struggles with certain things, but as you mentioned, that was Ruud's area. So are we giving him a pass on that? Or are we just chalking it up to larger institutional issues in terms of the in-state recruiting? He's a kind of an interesting case that he just seemingly has flown under the radar for 5 years and we barely even think about him.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty strange, to be honest.
It is. Of all the discussion about Nebraska football, Barrett Ruud might be the least amount of discussion
he's
about an assistant.
The least talked about assistant, which is especially weird considering he is a Nebraska guy. I mean, one of the most famous Nebraska football families.
Like here, I may be completely off on the read, but the development in Luke Reimer, really nobody ever says, hey, that's Barrett. Because we all looked at Luke Reimer and thought, man, that's a pretty good football player. He just, he needs an opportunity.
Yeah.
He got an opportunity. And Luke Reimer is everything I thought he would be when he came to Nebraska.
Yeah.
So, but normally you would have a guy that was technically a walk-on that elevates himself to, being in mention for all Big Ten honors.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what is his position coach? You don't get that. It's just an observation. But Luke Reimer to me is the same guy I thought he was going to be.
I was going to say
he walked in the door.
Most people give all that credit to Luke Reimer for his own development, and I think rightfully so.
I mean, has it taken this long that we judge Barrett on Ernest Hausman, which I think is fair because Hausman is raw. And he comes in and they put him on the field. They trust him enough as a true freshman to get him on the field.
Yeah, he still looks raw when he gets on the field.
Well,
but
and
he's incredibly raw.
He's riding the roller coaster of being picked on and understanding recognition.
Sure.
When the ball is snapped, pre-snap, all of that kind of stuff. But I do wonder if you get to a situation this weekend and for the rest of the ride in the season, you have to go to a fourth inside linebacker. Who is that guy?
That's a really good question. I don't know.
I'm kind of taking Kolarvik out, even though he's back in as a starter.
Yeah.
Because he was taken out of that room. I mean, Kolarvik, Reimer, Clements, and Hausman. If you have to go, I guess in this case, a fifth, who would that be? That's I'm very uncomfortable.
I'm not sure they know who that would be.
All right. Brian Christopherson, maybe he does. No, he's come up here a little bit. Quick note here as we go to break. Brittany Griner has had her appeal of her 9-year prison sentence for drug possession rejected by the Russian court.
Not surprising.
So there will be probably more on that coming out. We're back with more after this. As you know, it feels like fall outside. Just look in your yard. All your leaves are in your neighbor's yard. And when fall is around here, there usually are big events. You got football going on. You got basketball that is about ready to start. And you got concerts, including a huge concert coming up this weekend at the CHI Health Center. Not one night, but two. Luke Combs is in town, and you can check him out on the 28th and the 29th by checking out my friends at ticketsforless.com. We talk a lot about the sports, but how about shows? Check them out if you're looking to go to an upcoming event. You can do your comparison, but you'll always keep coming back for Tickets for Less You know why? There are no crazy per ticket fees, and they've got the best choices and the best prices at ticketsforless.com. So whether you want to go to Memorial Stadium on Saturday to see Nebraska and Illinois, or Luke Combs, or head down to Arrowhead when the Chiefs are back in town, Tickets for Less is the place to go. Very easy to manage the site, and never the crazy per ticket fees that you'll pay on other sites. Compare and save today at ticketsforless.com.
1620 The Zone's four-quarter pick'em returns. It's your chance to win $1,620. All you have to do is correctly pick 4 college or NFL games against the spread. Listen to qualify every weekday or enter online at 1620thezone.com. One lucky listener will be selected each week to make their picks live on air.
Awesome.
Go to 1620thezone.com for complete rules and contest details. It's four-quarter pick'em with 1620 The Zone.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. Get this date marked on your calendar, Sunday, October the 23rd, because that is the date for their 4-person Fall Scramble. Only $300 for you and 3 others. You'll, of course, get the Golf the Cart tee gift prizes. You'll get fed lunch and more. It will be an 11 a.m. shotgun start. Sign up today at their website, miraclehillgolf.com/store. They're located just north of Dodge on 120th Street. Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis.
Buy your next vehicle your way from anywhere with Woodhouse. Start your journey online at woodhouse.com. Easily shop all new and pre-owned inventory. Explore payment options and apply for financing. Ready to purchase? Schedule your new vehicle for pickup from the dealership or have it delivered to your driveway. Need a little extra help in determining your perfect vehicle? Our knowledgeable and local dealerships can guide you to the vehicle that best matches your needs. Experience car buying your way with Woodhouse, a trusted auto partner since 1975.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Want to know the difference between 42 Degrees and our competition? Our customers. With over 1,200 5-star reviews, we are proud to say that our customer service is the best in town. Curious to know what our customers rate most every time? It's our knowledge of the products and how friendly and professional our sales staff is. Stop in, talk to our staff, and see for yourself why 42 Degrees is the source. Buy your mom's house.
The IRS doesn't mess around. If they want your money, they'll take it. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too, even threaten your home or business. Don't take on the IRS alone. If you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief. The experts at Optima specialize in a powerful IRS tax assistance program called the Fresh Start Initiative. And their clients that qualify are saving thousands. One call starts the process to stop the demand letters, stop aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS from targeting you. But don't delay. It's important to act now while you still have options. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. Optima has already resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get your life back. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima now for your free consultation.
Call 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Welcome to the After Hours Lounge on 1620 The Zone.
I choose to invade the state of Minnesota and steal PJ Fleck. He's rowing the boat, into Lincoln.
They hired PJ Fleck for this job. I will quit. September 13th, 2022, I will state my resignation at 1620 The Zone if they hire PJ Fleck.
Catch After Hours 6 to 8 Monday through Friday or as the sports schedule allows. Brought to you by Iowa Western Community College and Multicare Medical on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone.
Excuse me?
It's the clean version. I checked. Radio edit.
Mother got out.
But not the other word.
Not trucker.
You got to watch out.
That's why I test them when I come in here at 5:30, since we're getting bump music from the YouTube.
From the interwebs.
And I never assume just because it says radio edit. So I'm listening actually before Robbie gets here.
Just like tomorrow, Ravi, just like your own playlist.
I'll bring in a playlist.
All right.
I'm all for
So
it.
tomorrow is your playlist.
How many songs do we need? How many bumps?
12 segment. 12
About
bumps.
12? Okay, I'll do 12.
All right. So anything goes.
A lot of
Gotta be-
Creed coming your way.
We'll celebrate their entire catalog.
Got to be edited. So yesterday we were talking about the Candy Wrapper Museum. I have another question concerning food and its future.
Okay.
Where do retired sandwiches go? So kind of lost in everything that's going on in the world yesterday, McRib is coming back for a limited time. On November 20th, McDonald's is going to retire the McRib. I have never had a McRib. I'm not really sure about the fascination, but people go out of their way to eat whatever that is.
Do
The
they mean
McRib.
retire like forever?
Yeah, they're going to retire it.
Like
It's
how the
done.
Rolling Stones have gone on 18
No,
farewell
I guess
tours.
I guess they're serious.
I don't believe them.
I don't either.
But where do retired sandwiches go?
Well, there's a nice little farm. They go and they play with other sandwiches that have been retired. And
I mean, have there any other sandwiches that you can recall that ever quote unquote been retired?
I'm sure there have been.
I mean, clearly nobody ever you retire, but clearly you're never retired. I mean, look at Serena yesterday. She said, "Well, I might not." And I'm like, "Oh, my gal, don't do that to
Do
me."
we blame Schefter for that
No,
too?
don't-
It's like
don't
when
do it to me.
boxers retire. It's like you're not really retired. You're just trying to convince people to offer you more money to come back. That's all this is. McRib's coming back. It's going to come back and fight the Arby's rib sandwich.
I mean, God, there's no food item that ever retires.
No.
Like there might be a candy.
McRib will never go away.
Yeah, because all you have to
Well,
do
it's
is
'cause
start making them again.
When a nuclear war hits, cockroaches and the McRib sandwich will be the only things
Exactly.
that survive.
And Twinkies.
Yeah.
Has that been proven?
I don't know.
I think I did it in my microwave one day when I was in college.
I don't think you're allowed to microwave them, Gary.
A lot of stuff that we put in the microwave when I was in college.
I mean, you're allowed to, but I think it defeats the purpose of the preserving it for all of nuclear winter.
See, I tried to test science when I was in college, Robbie, with putting the Twinkie in the microwave and also putting soda in the freezer.
Oh, I've done that.
And then when it explodes,
Yep, it's ugly. Real ugly. Especially if it's in if you do it in a can, then you get the metal all over the place. The aluminum can kind of explodes all over your freezer as well. It's not good.
I should have got it into science. I mean, I had so many experiments.
I mean, you know, you had the meteorology. That's a science.
The Mentos and the Coke and
Yeah.
Pop rocks and the Coke. And
Yeah.
I saw a guy on TikTok the other day. He put Mentos in the bottom of his parents' ice trays and then made ice cubes over them. So when his dad put ice cubes into his Coke, his thing just exploded. It was genius.
That's awesome.
Terrific prank.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I was really impressed. As somebody who pulled a lot of pranks in college, I was very impressed.
I got a thought.
Okay.
No, I'm thinking.
You're
about it.
ruminating?
Yeah, that is a great.
Yeah, that was a really good prank. I was like, wow, well done, sir.
Listener Jay chimes in that the McRib is going out to pasture with new Coke.
And clear Pepsi.
Oh, yeah.
And Surge.
New Coke was such a thing. Such a failure.
Good work. Good work, guys.
Surge. That takes me back to middle school.
Last hour is well, you know, I mean, not every idea is a good idea.
But it is an idea.
But you know what? If you have a bat, you might as well take a swing.
Yeah, you never know till you try, right?
Yeah. Some things some things take off that you would have never thought.
That's what I'm doing here.
Brian Christopherson's coming up next.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Burden AC Heating, Plumbing, and More Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown near Q Street along 204th. Then on Dodge, we are prepared for some significant delays from 94 to 87. And on L Street, be prepared for some major slowdown from 108 all the way to 79. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Lanahaw Nurseries.
At Lanahaw, our homegrown trees boast the most vibrant colors of fall, reds, yellows, and oranges. Shop our garden center today for the best selection of plant material and seasonal decor. When you think fall, think Lanahaw, 192nd and Center.
At Dingman's Collision Center, you voted them first place in Best in Omaha for the past 17 years. So they want to say thank you for choosing the Dingman family and their incredible technicians to repair your vehicles. At Dingman's, they'd rather be the best than apologize for anything less.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Creighton Sports Update.
Only 2 weeks until Blue Jays basketball is back. Single game tickets for all men's and women's basketball home games are on sale now. Get your tickets online at gocreighton.com/tickets or at the Creighton ticket office. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
$16.20 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
With almost everything in life, you have choices. You can pick a lot, a little, or somewhere in the middle. So shouldn't there be an internet plan that's just as clever? One that allows you to add TV or home automation whenever. That's why Cox now offers flexible internet plans, giving you all the services you desire at nothing you don't require. Additional services can be added at then current regular rates. All services subject to residential customer service agreement and acceptable use policy found at cox.com/policies. Restrictions apply.
Haven't been to 42 Degrees lately? Then you should, with the largest selection of glass and water pipes, vaporizers, kratom, CBDs, and more. Our staff is the friendliest and most knowledgeable in Omaha. 42 Degrees, by your mom's house.
This is Scott Schultz from Host Coffee. 2022 marks our 50th year and business has never been better. We are rapidly growing and adding new customers, which means we need new route drivers and service technicians. We have new jobs for those new to the industry with little or no experience and new careers that require knowledge in the coffee and vending world. There's a good chance we have just what you need in a new job. Host Coffee offers competitive pay and understands the work-life balance. Apply today at hostcoffee.net/careers and join our team.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
Old school Van Halen for the second straight day.
There will be no Van Halen on my playlist tomorrow.
It's your playlist. It's whatever you want. If it's Christmas songs, then that's the direction we're
Ooh,
going.
I'm not going Christmas.
You guys
Red
never,
Kettle.
you guys never sat in class and outlined the Van Halen logo?
I did not. No, that was not. I usually did like sports logos. Was my kind of.
Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7 joins us. Van Halen, yay or nay?
I'm not against them. I just never got into them. Wasn't my cup of tea. If you want to talk about like Weezer Blue Album, or
Okay, let's go Weezer.
Yeah.
I got you next week, BC.
Hey, so speaking of, because didn't we do this with you a couple of years ago? So we got into a discussion about Weezer.
Mm-hmm.
BC's big Weezer
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we started playing like part of their new album. It coincided, I think, when you were on the show.
Well, I've used an analogy from a Weezer song for Husker football for too long, and I think that's what started. I used a sweater song where, you know, if if you pull the thread and walk away, the whole thing comes undone. And so that was Husker football for a while, where it felt like if one bad thing happened, you're walking around naked, as they sing in the song. That's not me saying it. I'm quoting Weezer here. That's where I think we got going on that.
We'll have more on Weezer at the end of this segment. We were talking because, as the season once we hit Saturday and then in the middle of a coaching search, I think these 5 weeks are going to go pretty quick, and we're all going to wake up after Black Friday. Either Nebraska season continues or there's the next part of Nebraska football with whoever the next head coach is. But like trying to assess, hey, if Mickey's the head coach, would he keep blank, blank, blank? It led me to, and tying this into Luke Reimer being back and the lack of depth at inside linebacker. Ravi and I were talking about this, BC. How would you assess like a 5-year run of Barrett Ruud as an inside linebacker coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough with individual guys because you never know exactly what they're like, behind closed doors with the other coaches. And some guys have a lot of respect for what they bring to the table, and others not as much, honestly. And so I don't know, where Barrett sits within that coaching group as far as that stuff. I know with the in-state recruiting, that's a place you could start. He took his criticism last cycle, or I guess it was last cycle, where Nebraska, when they struck out with about 4 or 5 guys. Prior to that, and I always pointed this out because I wanted to be fair about it, he had a very high batting average with in-state guys that they really wanted. It was right up there. So I think it's been a mixed bag recruiting locally. I think recruiting locally, well, we can start there, is one of the most difficult assignments. And I don't think it was hashed out maybe as well as it could have been previously. I think it's better now. I think it's a thing where you need to attack it with multiple guys. And it's not like other guys weren't involved in state. They were. But I think you saw when you had 2 definite faces within state recruiting, and Mickey was one of them, and Barrett was another, and they could play off each other with their different personalities, skill sets. That has seemed to be really effective. So there's no doubt that Mickey being out of that equation, I think, provided the jolt locally. But I give Barrett more credit in state recruiting than some do, because some think of that one cycle where I think a lot of those recruits frankly wanted to get out of here, and it would have been tough for anybody in that cycle. Now, if Mickey had been around that year, it would have been kind of interesting to see if a couple of those were different, but that wasn't the case. I know what you're saying with the coaching of his guys. It's hard because
I don't know that he's been given he's been given really an interesting room over 5 years.
Yeah, and they've recruited some really good guys, but some of those guys just came and went, that were supposed to be a big deal. Remember, Keyshawn Green, and Wyndon Holy. He wasn't here for more than a semester, basically. And then the guys who kind of took off were sort of surprises in a way, not after they got going, but I mean, Luke Reimer was a guy who was a walk-on at first and not intentionally recruited to be a scholarship player, and they just figured it out right away, we got to get him on the field. So I think there's a critique of that position, just like all the others. How much have they really developed, or have they developed how you want them to? Is that on the coach? Is that more on the players? That you get going in that where you're chasing your tail a little bit. But I don't know how Ruud factors in, if it's Mickey's call and who he would stick with. That's everybody's kind of trying to guess that right now. And I kind of always go back to, in those situations, a lot of times guys will look at recruiting as one of the main things to start. Is this guy such a dynamic recruiter that we cannot let him go?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where names Applewhite and Bill Bush and maybe Sean Beckton and his Georgia connections really come to my mind first. But we'll see how it goes.
So let's give in this cycle where Nebraska, if Mason Goldman commits to Nebraska from Gretna, I mean, the in-state haul in the class of 23 is unprecedented in really kind of the recruiting website era, the amount of in-state players. And I think the average miles away from campus in this recruiting class right now is under 500. So it's been kind of a local recruiting class but you drop into Georgia for Barry Jackson and a little bit outside of the area. I want to tie in-state recruiting, Barrett Ruud, and what happened on Saturday with Malachi Coleman, who committed to Mickey Joseph, who just happens to be the interim head coach at Nebraska. How would you describe the in-state recruiting this year and what that commitment to a coach who's at a program from an in-state kid meant on Saturday?
Well, I mean, the in-state recruiting, this part's the saving grace of things because, like you said, that you're going towards 6 or 7 in-state guys right now. And, you're in a coaching transition. And we've talked about how, well, they've done a really good job actually keeping this class together, right? Since Frost was fired and all that. And part of that's just a credit to, I think the guys really like Mickey. A lot of the guys in this class committed, I think, more to Nebraska than necessarily a specific coach. But I think also the fact that there are so many guys with Nebraska ties, yeah, of course they're probably not going to go anywhere, even though there's a coaching change. They're loyal to the state program, and that's a big part of it. And so this was a very fortunate year, and it wasn't all luck. They were very intentional even before they knew what was going to happen, that they wanted to recruit more in a tighter radius in this portal era. Where guys are leaving so quickly. There was a thought that could maybe be helpful as far as guys sticking around more and developing if they're from here and there's sort of that pride of having grown up around it. So I think that's just sort of one of those things where that was the plan, and it's a good thing that was the plan after the coaching change because that's allowed the class to not totally get ripped to shreds. As far as Malachi, I think we shouldn't take for granted the job Mickey did recruiting him. I mean, that's a guy who very easily, when things switched around, could have had other options and really looked at those options more closely. And I think that relationship with Mickey always was just one step ahead of everything else that was out there in front of him. And I think Mickey Joseph also at one point, I know Malachi said this in a quote to us, said, I've got a multi-year contract here, just because we don't know how it's going to work out, but I could be here a while. And that wasn't like a guarantee, I don't think, but it was just a thought in his head. And I think it's in all the recruits' head that no matter who the permanent coach is, I think there's an understanding from most that Nebraska wants to keep Mickey Joseph in some form. And maybe it's as a permanent head coach, but maybe it's something else. And I think that's a big deal to a lot of those guys.
Brian, Brett Bielema made a kind of big deal about talking about the difference between Nebraska in the first 3 games in the season and then their most recent 3 games, especially. How much of that do you think is him kind of just doing coaching platitudes about the job that Mickey Joseph and staff have done? And how much of it do you think is they're really looking at this as 2 different Nebraska teams this season?
That's a good question. I mean, I think there's some truth to it, but I also think that's a little bit of coaching, like, press conference 101. You go up there and you really talk up what's been happening and you get your team totally on this squad saying, these guys are, they're way better. If you look at the early film, this is a different team that you're going to see. Whether that's true or not remains to be determined sort of with the defense, because we did have those couple games around here where you thought they took a step forward. And then they had some trouble with Aiden O'Connell and the Purdue running game, where the guy goes for 180 on you. And so now you're kind of like, okay, which group is going to step forward here? And with Nick Henrich on the shelf too. But I think Bielema has been around this league long enough to know that unless you are, and I think Illinois is very good, but I don't think, they're not like Ohio State, Michigan good. I feel like there's Ohio State, Michigan, and then there's a divider. Ohio State, Michigan are like sitting at their own table, like dining together, listening to live jazz music, and everybody else is kind of at a different table. And those other guys, the margin for error is still small. Like, even if you're the 4th or 5th team in the league right now, there's maybe you're a half step ahead of the team that's 10th or 11th. But if you go -1 or -2 in turnovers on the road, you're not going to win, And I mean, just look at Purdue as an example. Nebraska goes -1. As much as we look at the warts on this Husker roster, on the line play and all that stuff, Nebraska goes -1 in turnovers in that game and loses by 6. If they flip that, they maybe win it. Wisconsin this week plays Purdue at home, goes +2, gets a pick 6, I believe. There's the difference. They win by 11 and they go +2 in turnovers. And I just think you saw over the last 2 or 3 weeks, Wisconsin can lose to Michigan State, who's frankly not very good this year. They can come back and they can beat Purdue. Minnesota can beat the tar out of Michigan State, and then they can lose to 3 in a row. The next step, honestly, the way this season's going, would be Nebraska to really make a mess of the room and beat Illinois, where the whole division's up for grabs again. So that would kind of fit. I mean, that would really fit the theme of how this Big Ten season in the West is going. And I think Bielema is well aware of that. And he's also got a team that hasn't had the target on his back. So how are you going to deal with that? So he's trying to use any angle he can to get him ready for it.
Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7 joining us. Casey Thompson's Saturday looks like what against this defense?
Well, hopefully he's got a little time. I think you're going to see, at least early on, that the bye week probably will have done him some good. Nobody needed the rest more than he did, as beat up as he was. And I mean, he was like leaning on the podium after the Purdue game, and you could tell he just like couldn't wait for that week off. And I don't blame him for all the hits he was taking. So, I mean, the question is, can those tackles and some of those, you got maybe a redshirt freshman at right guard and Latovsky, can they keep him clean for any amount of time? When you go back and look at the grades from some recent games on the O-line, I mean, the pass pro is just, it's abysmal. Some guys have ratings. Some people believe in the Pro Football Focus stuff, others don't. But I mean, some of those guys had like zeros, like on their rating with PFF. So with pass pro, so they've got to at least give him a little something. They're going to have some extra protection, and then the biggest assist Casey Thompson can get is a running game. He needs that friend by his side. Like, they got to get something going with Anthony Grant or whomever, where you're churning out 3 or 4 yards, you're staying a little bit ahead of the sticks, and then they're sort of playing on the script they want to, as opposed to Illinois, which is not going to be easy, as we know, with how good this defense is.
Brian, how long do you think they stick with the running game if they're not having success early before reverting to the Trey Palmer YOLO ball offense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Mark Whipple has shown, like, hey, that's what's working. I'm gonna go to that well, and I don't blame it. But I do think this might be one of those weeks where you got to really get it in your head before the game starts. Like, we've got to stick with this in some form, even if it's not the most jaw-dropping thing, and don't have a guy running for 120 yards or something. We got to get more than like 35 out of that starting I-back position running the ball, and we've got to beat our head into that wall a little bit. Of course, some of this is going to depend on your score situation. I felt like against Purdue, part of why that took off the way it did with Palmer was, one, they couldn't cover him, but also the score. I mean, they were down 17 late in the second quarter, and it sort of turned into that game where they felt like they had to get points and get them pretty fast. And, that might have been a piece of it. So if it's a type of game where it's basically tied, or they're kind of trading shots and field position, I would hope they have maybe a little bit more stick-to-itiveness with the run game, even if it's not overly awesome. Just to keep Illinois honest there, because I think you almost have to.
Hey, we'll step outside of the Big Ten and get you out of here on this. What do you think happens at Iowa? I mean, that's an offense that's lost confidence. Doug Lesmerises wrote an incredible article. You're covering the Ohio State-Iowa game, and you write for the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and yet you write about the opposing team, and what's going on with their offense from the head coach and his son is the offensive coordinator. And he questions how, what happens when college head football coaches have too much power and what can be done about it. What do you think is the end game at Iowa from all of us looking at it from afar?
Well, I mean, I'd be stunned if Kirk Ferentz sticks, with Brian, its son at OC. I mean, I think there'll be a change. I really do. And I part of me is because obviously they need to do that from a football standpoint. Also, I just got to think it can't be fun or a good situation for Brian Ferentz over there right now. Do you want to go through that again and just like Kirk Ferentz has a great legacy at Iowa as far as with that fan base. I know people here poke at him a little bit and they're kind of old school and conservative and also what they do, but I remember when he first took over that program, they played one of Solich's teams, the first couple of years, and they were terrible. They were like a 1-win program. And he, very efficiently built that up to where you could always count that they're usually going to be a 7-8 win team. And I don't think you want to intercept that right now by the lasting part of this being, oh, you stuck with this guy because he was your son, and what wasn't for the good of the program. I get the feeling from reading stuff that Ferentz is one of those guys. He's just like, I don't see the point in changing in season. It's never been my style. We will reevaluate after the season. But I just think at this point they got to change, right? I mean, and if they don't, people are going to start calling for Kirk's position too, and that's not the way you want that era to end there. And I think even other people who are not fans of the program would sort of like find that unappealing if that's how it ended, honestly.
Yeah, and it'll be curious to see what happens when that season is over. I mean, it makes you appreciate how good of a running back Goodson was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they are wasting a great defense.
Yes,
I mean they played great football against Ohio State in that game for about 3 quarters. They on defense. I mean, they were stressing the Buckeyes out more than they have been, and yet they lose the game 54-10 because your offense is like, here's some points, here's some field position, and it's one of the more amazing things. They've got a legit top 5 or top 10 defense, and they've got easily one of the top 5 worst offenses, and they're both on the same squad.
Now, it is amazing. BC, as always, we appreciate it. We'll see you this weekend.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. I mean, it's 3-4. You play Northwestern this weekend, so could you get back to 500?
Should be able to, you would think.
But there does become a point where Kirk Ferentz is next to Hayden Fry, the coach. But what has happened here, especially this year, does that impact his legacy? I mean, I think there's two things, and I said this yesterday about Brian Ferentz. Your quarterback development is not good. I mean, Ken O'Keefe was really good quarterback coach. So you elevate your son to also take over the quarterback development, and they can't figure out quarterback play. I mean, they don't have a dual threat quarterback. Everybody else in the country can find one. And then you throw in your struggles on offense, just play design, or they had 4th down and 1 on what was about the 32. They went for it and converted. But then they had 4th down and 1, like on the Ohio State 44, and they decided to punt.
Yeah, there's just no logical consistency to what they do. There's no dynamic aspects to the offense at all. Everything seems super bread and butter. There's really no creativity or outside of the box thinking. I mean, if you're struggling this badly on offense, you would think at this point you would just start trying a little bit of outside of your comfort zone thinking to try and generate some offense. There doesn't seem to be a willingness to do any of that. There doesn't seem to be a willingness to get a little bit creative. I know they're not like a big trick play school, but just try anything to get going because, I mean, listen, they lost the Illinois game 9-6. If you can score at all, you win that game.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of games before them like that. It's not every game has not been 54-10 the way it was against Ohio State. Like they have been in almost every game. And if they can find a way to even like one play to score a touchdown, then they win some of these games and are in a much better position. That doesn't make the offense in general better, but winning games matters at some point, and they're losing games because of their refusal to do that.
Just think about the Iowa-Illinois game. With as porous as they were on offense, they could have stole that game because of how good their defense was that night.
With one play,
Mhm.
just generate one play, and boom, you win. Like that's it.
And they thought they had the ball at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they had it on offense, but they thought they had taken away before Illinois kicked the game-winning field goal.
Yeah, it's really I can't imagine being on the defensive side of the ball, a defensive coach on that side of the ball. Because I know we talked about the players. I can't imagine what it's like to be on the defensive coaching staff and have to look across the room at Brian Ferentz
There
right
are
now.
more cases this year where I see this, and there's such a discrepancy between an elite defense and a horrible offense. Iowa, look in the NFL. Look at the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos have an elite defense.
The
They
Bear-
have a bad offense.
The Bears.
Yeah.
We saw them last night. They scored a little bit more, but they also got 3 interceptions off the Patriots, which led to a lot of that. It's, we thought around here that the 2009 Nebraska
great example
defense versus offense was the biggest disparity you'll ever find. At least you had Roy Halou on that team to give you anything at all offensively. This is as big of a disparity as you will ever see between a really great offense and possibly the worst defense in college, or the worst offense in college football.
All right, we come back. We'll get through some emails and some tweets. You're always welcome. We got some time here to still sneak in a phone call if you'd like, 951-1620. If you don't like John Calipari, I'm going to change your mind before we're out of here on a Tuesday.
That's a teaser.
Yes, it is. There's Robbie. I'm Gary, Jimmy here as well on 1620 The Zone. Hey, this isn't a teaser. This is facts. You can find your next truck at Woodhouse Buick GMC. For either business or pleasure, whatever tasks you need that need to be tackled, whether you need to haul something, whether you just like a truck. Well, let me introduce you to the Sierra 1500. Now, this comes from somebody that is not necessarily a truck person, but I had the opportunity to drive a Sierra 1500 for a while, and very distinctive. I thought, okay, I'm going to be driving a truck, and it's going to be like, nope, nice and smooth. Great technology, leather interior. It doesn't ride like a truck. It rides nice and smooth, and you know that you got a party in the front, and you got a party in the back as well. You got power on both ends and luxury in the middle with the Sierra 1500. Check out the Sierra 1500, and I advise taking it for a test drive. There are plenty right now in stock at 119th and I, where you can find the climate-controlled indoor showroom of Woodhouse Buick GMC, or find another truck that fits your need. They have technology, features that come together, enhance your experience. You need to haul stuff, you can find a truck today at Woodhouse Buick GMC. You can also start your journey online where the same inventory, same knowledgeable sales team is there to help you at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. Woodhouse Buick GMC, we are professional grade.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
Bruce Feldman. I really think Alabama is not as good as people say. Oh, baby, I'm so hot.
Actually, saying that does kind of get me going. Wait, Alabama, I missed the CFP? Hold on, I'm almost there. Say it slower. Yeah.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Bellevue Berry and Pumpkin Ranch from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
After a chilly start, expect cool and breezy conditions for your Tuesday. We'll see plenty of sunshine, but north to northwest winds will pick up late in the morning, gust up to 25 miles per hour through the afternoon. Highs around 59. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Mornings on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine.
Hi, this is Kathy Knoyer. 'Tis the season at Glass House Market with Knoyer Garden Center. We'd like to invite you to come shop our stunning holiday market, where you'll find a perfect gift for that special someone or the Christmas decor you've been wanting. Join our family for the open house November 5th and 6th to help us celebrate the holiday season. Glass House Market, located within Knoyer Garden Center on 66th Street between Cornhusker and Highway 370 in Papillion.
At Knoyer Garden Center, everybody's got a green thumb.
Greg Gonzalez retired as a tenured and decorated Deputy Chief of Police at the Omaha Police Department. Greg has over 28 years of experience and successfully climbed the ranks from street cop to Deputy Police Chief in charge of hundreds of police officers. Greg holds a bachelor's in criminal justice and a master's in public administration. Greg has the education, executive leadership, and budget experience needed to manage the Douglas County Sheriff's Department. Greg has helped recruit and hire over 450 officers. Greg Gonzalez will hire and train deputies to patrol your neighborhoods and keep you safe at night. Greg is the only candidate who has the executive leadership experience at the ranks of Deputy Chief, Captain, and Lieutenant. His opponent does not have the temperament, education, rank, budget, or supervisory experience needed to successfully lead the entire Douglas County Sheriff's Department. Hire the most qualified person for the job. Vote Greg Gonzalez for Douglas County Sheriff.
Hi, I'm Greg Gonzalez, and I approve this message. Paid for by Greg for Sheriff.
Teaching is one of the most fulfilling careers you can pursue. If you have a bachelor's degree but are not satisfied with your current career, change it. At College of St. Mary, you can earn a teaching certificate and a master's degree at the same time. We make it easy to balance your work and home life with classes online and on Saturdays. In just a few short months, you could start a teaching career that will make a difference in the lives of children and their families. Our MAT program is inclusive and open to everyone. Get started today. Visit College of St. Mary at csm.edu.
This is Scott Schultz from Host Coffee. 2022 marks our 50th year and business has never been better. We continue to grow and add new customers. Many employers are looking for new ideas for their staff as people return to the office. Our pantry service is a great office amenity for staff and guests. Fresh food, snacks, coffee, water, and other beverages for employees and guests. Enhance your office experience with pantry service from Host Coffee. Learn more at hostcoffee.net.
Since this is a radio commercial, you can't see the people standing behind me. They're the Langfeld family. Everybody wave. Oh, sorry, you can't see them because radio. Anyway, the Langfelds are the family behind Langfeld Overhead Door, where they proudly install Midland garage doors to fit any space and style, and they don't take a backseat to anyone when it comes to their service. Because if something goes wrong, it's their name on the line. So they're going to make sure it goes right every single time. Langfeld Overhead Door, 402-234-2700.
Make it a great fall season. Head to KuglerVision.com today to request a consultation.
1620 The Zone.
Welcome back in, 1620 The Zone. Mornings. It's 25th of October. It is National Greasy Food Day. We'll talk about it on the crossover. Your favorite mom and pop shop. There's a greasy spoon.
Ooh, okay. I do love greasy food. Ooh.
Probably we don't have any like new greasy spoons that come our way.
No, not a lot.
Old school.
It's disappointing.
So, the internet sometimes can be a rough place.
Yes.
And then the internet sometimes can be fabulous. So there was a picture that was circulating yesterday, and this hit me in the feels. Because I think any of us that have had, a mom and dad or our guardians or whoever, we've grown up, they've been in charge of us or taking care of us. If they work both jobs and you're playing sports or other extracurricular events, you want your mom and dad to be at every single thing. And I lived, my dad was a professional baseball scout, so he was on the road a lot. And, he would try and make a lot of events. But I would spend more time at my dad's job than he would coming to my game.
Sure.
Just because of his schedule. My mom was a nurse, and, normally she was a 7A to 3. She'd work that shift, but she was the head nurse for the majority of my time at home. And so she would fill in. But they would always try and make my sporting events. And even if it meant my mom was showing up in scrubs or her, what she wore as a head nurse. It was always really, really cool. And I had other, playing football. I had other friends who, their parents were coming from work.
Yeah.
And, they would wear their work outfit. They would get off of work and they would, make sure they were watching their son play. So there was a picture that was tweeted out yesterday. Kentucky basketball. If you are familiar at all with the Commonwealth, Kentucky basketball is the end all be all. Those people love Big Blue Nation. And it doesn't matter what part of the state of Kentucky you live in. But Kentucky basketball, which is so huge in that state, John Calipari took their blue-white scrimmage out of Rupp Arena and took it to Pikeville. And that area was decimated by flooding. And he wanted to raise money and give back to that community. So they went and played there the other day. And there was a picture taken by somebody that was in the crowd of a gentleman who was dressed in his coal miner outfit. You know, coal mining is a big thing in the state of Kentucky. And he was sitting courtside with his son. And this is so the picture was taken and Calipari responded to it. He said, my family's American dream started in Clarksburg, West Virginia coal mines, so this picture hits home. Now, he would go on to have a conversation with this coal miner's wife, and he said, you know, my grandfather started in the mine. He passed away before I was old enough to realize what he was doing. Calipari goes on in this tweet, and this is where it really hits me, and everybody else that is, you know, your parents were so important, and they would do anything to get to your events, whether you were playing in the band or in sports, and they would show up in their work outfit, you know? He says, and Calipari goes on to say, from what I've been told after his shift, he raced to be with his son and watch our team. Don't know who this is, but I have tickets for him and his family at Rupp Arena. Immediately, people were like, okay, I know who this is. You know, they're in the Pikeville, Kentucky area. And they let his wife know that John Calipari wants to treat them to VIP treatment at Rupp Arena. So Calipari then responds, thank you to everyone for the incredible response to this. No one rallies like Big Blue Nation. We look forward to hosting, and that's the McGuire family, mom, her husband, Michael, and their family at a game soon. So this goes a step further. Calipari gets a hold of the wife basically to learn their story. And she says, my husband is a coal miner. Sorry, you can't call him. He's at the bottom of the mine. He's got no cell service. He works from 6 a to about 4:45. And he tries to make all of our kids' events. And he'll show up with coal dust on his face, and he'll be in his coal mining outfit. And, you know, around there, people don't even think twice.
Yeah, probably don't blink.
And so he got in touch with the family. When the dad yesterday came out of the coal mine, his fellow workers were there, and they gave him a standing ovation. He had no idea what they were talking about because, of course, he can't be on the internet. He's not looking at Twitter, or his wife can't get a hold of him. And they said, you're a celebrity. It's a great story. I mean, I know Calipari drives people nuts. He drives Kentucky people nuts with the basketball stuff. Man, what he did is really, really cool. That's a good human being to reach out and let people of that part of his state tell their story about what makes them so special. And I also think what makes our mom and dad and everybody else and what we do for our kids, like, so cool that this is being recognized. And I probably, when I was a kid and my parents tried to make every event through work and, you know, racing home and all the sacrifices, I didn't say thank you enough. Man, this hit me hard yesterday.
Yeah, it's something as a kid, you don't realize the amount of sacrifices that are being made on your behalf. But to go to the Coach Calipari part about this specifically, I say what you will about him as a basketball coach, as whatever, but I genuinely think this is a good dude. And this, not just from this, I think ESPN did a documentary on him in Kentucky a few years back, and he kind of went through his recruiting pitches, right? And basically his entire recruiting pitch is like, hey, let's get you to the NBA. This is about you. I want you and your family to be taken care of. I remember specifically with Karl Anthony Towns. And, you know, Karl Anthony Towns has suffered some tragedy in his family with COVID and everything now. And so looking back on it, it particularly hits home. But his main concern was like, hey, let's make sure you have an opportunity right now in your life, if you play this right, that a year from now, your family will never have to worry about money again. Let's make that happen. You know, and the fact that he didn't talk about championships, he didn't talk about himself. He didn't talk about, oh, look how great of a coach I am. He was like, hey, let's get you to Kentucky. The more we win, the better off you'll be. And let's get you and your family taken care of. And a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, it's like there's a lot of recruiting pitches out there. It doesn't have to be that. He could get a lot of guys to Kentucky with, I'm John Calipari. This is Kentucky. You come play for me. And that wasn't the pitch. The pitch was, let's make sure you and your family are taken care of forever. And that always stuck with me because that's a really, like, I don't know that many college coaches that would approach it that way when you basically get to handpick your talent, right? And the fact that that's the thing he cared about most. And listen, that probably drives some Kentucky basketball fans crazy because you'd wish he cared about winning championships most.
Yep.
But I've always respected him and appreciated him after that. And honestly, the things that people don't like about John Calipari are kind of dumb things. Like, maybe he cheated at UMass. Okay, whatever. Like, college basketball cheating and all, like, he's not the only one, right? Like, let's not pretend he's alone there if he, is giving some guys some extra benefits under the table here. And frankly, it's all stuff that's legal now.
Yep.
So the things that we hold on as grudges against him are not really even real things. And so I think people get caught up in that and they miss things like this or the way that he approaches getting guys and their families into the NBA money. And I've just always really respected him for that.
So there's more to the husband. The husband hasn't spoken, but the wife has. He was expected to get off work that day around 4. Now, again, this is an area of Eastern Kentucky that had the tornadoes and the flooding. He was expected to get off work at 4, have time to shower, but he didn't get out of the mines until after 5. Pressed for time, he showed up to the game with black smudges from head to toe. Someone snapped a photo, shared it on Facebook, and the rest is history. The mom goes on to say, "It's normal for us. It's nothing for us to go out to eat or him to come to our son's T-ball games or family events covered in coal dust because he works daylight to dark about 50 hours a week underground, they estimate, so that I can be home taking care of our kids. So we've just gotten used to it, coal dust everywhere. We're kind of proud of it. And anybody that has lived in that part of the country, and I lived in West Virginia, they are super proud of their heritage and the families that are in the coal mines, because that is a job that 98% of us would never want to do.
Not even just never want, but could not hack it. Like there's an intense amount of respect for people that put themselves, and this is not just an unpleasant job, an actively dangerous job that people put themselves do. And frankly, not to be overly dramatic, the country doesn't run without it. Like a lot of the things that we exist are still off of coal power here. And so the importance of the job, like you understand why they're so proud of what they contribute to society.
It's such a great example of fatherhood.
Yeah.
I mean, we should all respect it and applaud. Because when I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday, I saw the picture and I'm like, whoa. I mean, because if you've not seen the picture, and we'll tweet it out, he's in his coal mining outfit. And I mean, his face is covered.
Yeah, I mean, he's covered.
Dust.
He's covered.
And
head
he's
to toe.
and he's sitting around all the other Kentucky fans watching this game, and you're like, okay, there's got to be a story here. And then I'm glad that people are like, okay, what is the story? Instead of saying, who is this guy?
Yeah, like, oh, what a schlub. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and you wonder if that's why the picture was taken in the first place.
Well, that's what I first thought. Okay, was somebody like
making fun of him?
Oh my God! But then I paused and I said, okay, in that part of Kentucky,
probably not.
You probably were at the grocery store earlier in the day and somebody got off their shift and they came straight to grab dinner.
Yeah.
And they are dressed in their coal mining outfit.
Yeah. In that part of the country, this is not uncommon.
But this is a really good, like a feel-good story where the internet won yesterday.
Every once in a while, it gives us a nugget to keep on going instead of just shutting the whole thing down. And that was one of them.
I mean, can you imagine the guy's response? He has no idea yesterday this is all going on.
Yeah.
And he comes out of the coal mine and everybody is clapping for him.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And like, I guess they handed him the phone and his wife said, I just talked to Coach Calipari.
Yes, it would be so confusing.
So I imagine they'll do a follow-up when the family gets to go to Rupp Arena for a game.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that that they make a big deal out of that. That'll be cool.
But maybe it's also part of this, when you have the devastation that they had in the state of Kentucky, in that part of Kentucky. I mean, maybe Calipari is reconnecting with the fans of Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, they have to appreciate things like this, right? I mean, it seems like, again, it seems like he gets Kentucky and he gets the community and that he appreciates the support that they give him, and he's trying to repay that appreciation any way he can.
We'll tweet that out from the Sharpen
Friends.
Sharpen Friends. Gosh, it's been a while. I owe you $1.
Put it in the jar.
Coming up, we'll put a wrap on it again. We'll sneak in a couple of late emails and tweets after this in 1620 The Zone. Download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You know why? Because right now, you're going to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. It's free bets back. If your first bet doesn't win, all you have to do is sign up with promo code ZONE. You know why I like the FanDuel app on my phone? Because it's safe, secure, it's super easy to use. I've really taken on live betting, and that is easy to find. All the updated odds on games that have already started, and they are changing just like that. So sign up today, promo code ZONE, for your no-sweat first bet. That's promo code ZONE. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel. It is the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now, 21 over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Sunday morning is all about church, eggs, and the Sunday paper. But right next to church, it's made for hot takes and reactions. Severe Reactions. Michael Severe is back on 1620 The Zone with Severe Reaction. Sundays 8 to 10 and doesn't hold back on what went right and what went wrong on Saturday. He'll also take calls from the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction. Sundays from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Powered by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
Dust. It's in the living room, the bedroom, and the bathroom. It's also in your lungs. Let's fix that, shall we? Duct Defense Midwest offers a comprehensive system that cleans, disinfects, filters, and purifies the air. They'll make your home healthier and improve the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com right now for a special air duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. Cleanairradio.com.
MD West One's team of neurosurgical spine specialists is the largest and most advanced in the greater Omaha metro. MD West One has been voted the #1 private practice and #1 in neurosurgery and spine by Best of Omaha year after year. They can help if you're suffering from recurring neck and back pain, weakness or numbness in your extremities, sciatica pain, or any other recurring issues stemming from your neck or back. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the spine team at MD West One.
42 Degrees, the source for glass and water pipes, vaporizers, candles, kratom, CBDs, and so much more. And if you're looking for premium certified e-juice, look no further than 42 Degrees.
Can I get the sales projections for the Springfield, Bristol, and Fairview stores?
Val's Froyo Palace is dishing out 3 more locations.
Jody, have you lined up interviews?
They need 3 new store managers before they have a meltdown.
And remember, they need at least 5 years experience.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
1620 The Zone.
All right, putting a wrap on this edition. Kyle says, put him on College Game Day when they are there at Rupp and let him make the picks.
Oh,
the coal mining dad.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. The dad may be like, whoa, this is way too much attention.
Say, with all the, I get part of it's because of his job, but with all the go-betweens between the wife and everyone else, it seems like maybe Mr. McGuire is not as interested in being out in front of people as as some other people would be.
And that just might be the humility of the people there. It's like, no, I don't need the attention. I was just trying to do my job.
Yeah, I was just trying to go to a basketball game with my kid.
Hey, now now the next step is maybe this is the lighter-hearted part of Calipari.
Yeah.
If him and Higgy will ever make up.
I don't know if I would go that far.
Probably pretty confident that will never, ever happen.
Seems like a lot of people maybe and Higgy get rubbed the wrong way.
Well, I think a lot of people are like, okay, I understand your gig. I just think the Kentucky thing was, yeah. Now, if he ever apologizes and whatever happens there, but
who knows?
Yeah, that's probably not gonna.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
No. Matt asks. Matt is a Hawkeye fan and a sleeper coach for Nebraska. Phil Parker develops 2 3-star players and turns them into NFL talent. Just look at his DBs over the year. He wouldn't be bad fit for Nebraska. And Trev could spend less on him than go get a great offensive coordinator. You know what? I've asked this, and maybe Matt and I have had a conversation about this. So Phil Parker is 59.
Yeah.
I want his name really doesn't come up, and he has developed some defenses.
Yeah.
His name doesn't come up for head coaching jobs. And I wonder if it's because he doesn't have a desire to be a head coach and he likes his gig right now being a defensive coordinator at Iowa.
Some guys don't. Some guys don't want the big job.
Where they have an identity, they have a culture, they can recruit. He can't do anything about the other side of the ball, but his defense does churn out NFL talent. Maybe he doesn't want to be a head coach. But there's part of Matt's email here that I'm curious as we ramp up for 5 weeks to the end of the season, whatever happens, is you're starting to hear stories about what Nebraska may spend.
Okay.
It is not in your range that you are looking for. I will tell you that.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing.
A lot of incentive discussion is out there.
That's going to narrow your field, I think, a bit.
Because what was yours, 8 million?
I thought they could go up to 8 million. I'm not saying I thought they'd be willing to go up to 8 million. That was I thought they'd be somewhere in the 6 to 8 range.
I think that's
a little high.
I've always thought that's high because Trev's never struck me as a guy that likes big contracts. Even though in this case, with a big job, it usually requires a big contract. Never hit me as, and again, he's doing Omaha, so nobody at Omaha is making 8 million.
Right.
If they are, oh my God, you got a great agent.
Good on you.
That is he into big contracts or fair market share contracts? What the market bears for experience, but they're going to be incentive laden.
So my thought was, and maybe I'm overestimating the market here. My thought was 6 to 8 million is the market value for a job like Nebraska. Like that's what it strikes me as. If you look at, Stoops is making 6 at Kentucky. You kind of look, Ferentz is making 7 at Iowa. Kiffin's making 7 at Ole Miss. You kind of look around. To me, 6 to 8 was kind of the market value.
Well, and remember, this is we're just crossing some benchmarks here with salaries. You get a $5 million football coach. You get a $3 million basketball coach. Again, Hoiberg's not making that money if Frost is not paid $5 million.
Sure.
But it's always been whoever's taken the Nebraska job hasn't had the experience, so you're not going top dollar.
Right.
So you did hit the $5 million mark. You can't go below that, I don't believe.
No, I don't think you can at all.
With somebody who had
any sort of
2
experience.
years of college football head coaching experience.
Like if you're hiring, and I hope this is not the way it goes, if you're hiring anyone that has head coaching experience, which I think you have to, you're going to be at least at 5 million. That's the benchmark. Now, how much above that they go, I don't know. Maybe it's closer to like a 5 to 7 million than a 6 to 8 in terms of the range. But that's for an experienced head football coach, especially somebody with Power 5 experience. I don't know how much below 6 you can get.
And we'll see if the people are interested in like an incentive-laced contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that sits with coaches.
Well, that's where you find out who wants the job or just curious. It's kind of been somebody asked me that the other day as they were hearing that Nebraska was not knee deep in like throwing out money.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little disappointing, to be honest. I would like them to be competitive at that, because if you want to act and be treated like one of the big jobs, you have to pay like the big jobs.
It may go back to what I said to begin the show is outside of Mike Riley, Nebraska, since Devaney hasn't had a coach that's had 2 or more years.
That would be a big red flag for me.
All right.
So not about that life.
So you got your wish about 6 weeks ago. Was that 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I don't mean to bring you down.
It's all right. It's a multi-step process, right? One wish isn't the way to a dream.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
That could have been a Jim Nantz line.
Bam!
Put it on the list.
We'll talk tomorrow at 6.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is